Morris and a top sports psychologist about it later in the show, so stay tuned for that. One of the biggest footballing talking points of the weekend didn't give us anything to smile about in that way, and it came, as it always seems to at the moment, from Arsenal. Club captain Granit Xhaka substituted 60 minutes in, drawing 2-2 with Crystal Palace, which of course was the final result. When his number got shown to be taken off, all those Arsenal fans started cheering and whooping, which is not nice, but it is part of the game. His response was to walk off the pitch incredibly slowly, cup his hands behind his ears as if to say, I can't hear you, and appeared to mouth a rather offensive word. He then kind of slapped the manager's hand, shirt straight off, disappeared down the tunnel. There are calls now for him to be fined, for him to be stripped of the Arsenal captaincy. What did you make of it?
Very, very disappointed in the player. The people that pay have the right to express themselves how they wish. And if they don't like your performance, they can boo, shout, clap, whatever they want. And you have to respect it. The fact he's come off and taken the shirt off, that is, for me, a massive, massive dish. You can't do that as the captain. And then the fact he didn't really... The manager put his arm out, his hand out for us, not a high five, but just not a handshake, just at shoulder high, put his palm out, and the player sort of just swiped underneath it and gave him the push away. That's not acceptable for me. That is not acceptable. I think he's got massive problems there. The crowd don't really like the player anyway, and I think he's done all right for Switzerland. When I've seen him play for Switzerland,
no, I agree.
He's been not too bad. And when he was chosen, as you're an Arsenal supporter, I did say to you, well, stop moaning about it, give him a chance, and let him do his stuff. Well, it ain't been good enough. That incident on Saturday. That's poor, and it would have been really hurtful, Johnny, to him as a person, coming off the pitch, getting all that dog's abuse. I've been in that position, and I know what that's like, and it is absolutely horrendous. Horrendous. When you're getting booed and shouted at and sworn at, it's horrendous. As a player, as a manager, I've had it all the time, and I just kind of let it go over my fat head. But as a player, it's horrendous.
As a player, then, when you're walking off and you've got all the boos, even coming from your own fans, how do you keep a lid on it? How do you stop yourself from doing what Xhaka did?
Well, you have to have respect. You have to have respect. They pay their money. They're entitled to do and say what they want. I'm not sure they're allowed to abuse you with bad swear words and stuff like that, because I'm not sure that's right. But booing and doing what they do is part and parcel of being a footballer. And yeah, I have been on the end of that. I have been at home as a 19-year-old at 6:30 on a Saturday evening, chatting with my dad, and he said to me, well, when I played for QPR, he said, well, you're either going to deal with it and carry on playing at the top level, or if you don't like it, you can walk away from this football club and you can go and play lower in the divisions where you'll be a much better player in that team, and you can have a life like that. But it'll be an easier... But if you don't play well at that level, they'll boo you there as well. He said, so you've got an option. And he said, and for your next game, he said, you know that you have got to get your tackles in, you've got to pass it simply, and every chance you get to get into the box, which is really my game, he said, but you've got to get back to the basics rather than be trying to be a fancy dan type of footballer, which you were today. So he said, I don't blame them for booing you. But he said, that's your choice, and I will back you all the way. I remember having that conversation in the front room in my house, and I was still living at home with my mum and dad, and it stuck with me for a long time. Deal with it, get back to basics and face up to you're not doing your job, or sit at home and cry and back off.
It's emerged today that 3 senior Arsenal players, they've not been named, but we're hearing 3 senior players went round to Xhaka's house to check up on him after the game. What do you make of that? On the one hand, you've got the positive side, players sticking up for each other, clearly respecting Xhaka. On the other, it's kind of soap opera stuff. What does it say about Arsenal as a club more broadly?
Why is it soap opera? What do you mean by that?
It's just amping the drama up. We've got he said, she said, he's gone round his house, he's thrown that shirt, the fans have shouted that. It all just seems a bit unnecessary.
No, I think it's a good effort on their part. Yeah, 3 players have gone round. He probably is a popular player within that dressing room. He gets his foot in. He has a go. He's 100% committed. Might not be the best player in the Premier League, but I certainly don't think he's a waster. He certainly doesn't, from what I've seen of him, he doesn't seem to be one that would shirk a tackle. He puts his foot in and goes in where it hurts. So probably some of his teammates have gone round to, to see how he is. I think that's a fair comment. If things didn't go well for you, Johnny, I'd come round and see you.
That's true. And I would be very grateful for it. I'm sure Xhaka was. But we saw it in the stadium as well, where Lucas Torreira was pictured looking to be pretty close to tears when Xhaka was getting that abuse. There were then reports that he turned round and respectfully said to a few of the fans, listen, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That's good, again, because he's supporting his mate. But are the club in danger here of fostering a kind of us against them mentality where the players like each other and stick up for each other, but the fans don't like the players? Because surely that is the most fundamental requirement for a football club, is that the fans actually like the people they're supporting.
The fans love the players.
Do they? On that showing?
Yeah, fans love the players at Arsenal. I was there 3 weeks ago. Played Notts Forest. The place was absolutely booming. Booming. Massive noise, non-stop, all the way through, start to finish. Young players playing, players coming back from injury. Yeah, it was really, really good night. One incident, I don't think it should be blown out of all proportion. He'll deal with it, get another captain, stick someone else in there, and probably try and get a shot of him in January. That's probably what'll happen. Ain't a big deal.
Well, let's hear what Arsenal legend Ian Wright made of it, speaking on Match of the Day 2 last night.
He's the captain, and so he's got the responsibility of being able to take that on board because he's been voted as a captain. You can't go like that. You know, the amount of stick that someone like Mesut Ozil's got, I can understand if Mesut Ozil came up and threw his shirt down. He's the captain.
For me, there is an element here of scapegoating where Granit Xhaka hasn't been good enough and he isn't a leader in the way that I think those Arsenal fans expect.
Yeah.
But because he is very much and so clearly Unai Emery's man, it feels a bit like all of the frustration the fans have with Emery is kind of going at Xhaka as well.
Well, I'm not sure he's clearly Emery's man because he substituted him after 60 minutes. And anyone that would know, if you get taken off after 60 minutes, it means the manager don't think you're playing very well at all. That's an early hook, 60 minutes. If someone gets taken off after 80 minutes and they take a midfield player off to put another forward on, it's kind of not accepted, but it's a kind of a way of playing. Or if you want to put another centre back on and take a centre forward off, but to take your captain off after an hour, it's a big hit. That is psychologically, that is a big move to be brought off after 60 minutes. Players don't like that. Even worse, taking them off at half time, and it's even doubly worse when you take them off in the first half, and then they absolutely hate you to death. So no, I'm not sure he is his favourite, and if he's taking him off, it's sending out a big message. And I would guess now he will have to pick another captain. And I stand to be corrected, Johnny. Did Unai Emery choose the captain, or did the players choose the captain? Because that would be something you'd have to question why that happened in the first place.
The players voted, and Emery gave them the option to do that. There is a question of the leadership or lack thereof with that. Is there a way back for Xhaka from here? And is there a way back for Emery either? Because all of those big Arsenal blogs on Twitter, to a man, were saying at the weekend, get rid of Emery. Get rid of Xhaka, get rid of Emery. They're both done.
No, I don't see it like that. I really don't. I think for the player, it's going to be particularly difficult. The only way that he could turn that round is if he gets in front of the TV screen, an Arsenal TV or whatever you call it, and apologises to everybody involved in the football club, and if he's genuine and says he's made a bad mistake, it's not an error, it's a mistake, doing what he did at that moment in time. If they forgive him, well, I hope they would do, because he seems like a decent person, a decent lad. He has made a mistake, and hopefully the fans will forgive him. With the manager, he's taken over. You've got to wait. You've got to wait for the full. Tierney played on the weekend, didn't he? And Bellerin, did he play?
I think he was involved off the bench.
Yeah. So and they played in the week. No, it's not the right time for him to go. No, without a shadow of a doubt.
I think it was a really, really bad weekend for Arsenal Football Club. Not just in terms of what the fans did, not just in terms of what Xhaka did, but Alexandre Lacazette, who I am a huge fan of, liked a post on Instagram from one of the people involved with Arsenal Fan TV, which was a photo of him making offensive gestures towards the camera, standing in an empty Emirates Stadium with a caption that said, "Get rid of Granit Xhaka and get rid of Unai Emery as well." Now, this is your player liking a post on Instagram calling for the manager to be sacked. It's perfectly likely he hadn't seen the caption, right? And he just liked the picture. But even in the picture, the bloke is swearing at the camera. So there is something going on with the dressing room there. There is something going on with a rift between certainly players and fans, possibly player and manager.
No, you don't know there's a rift. You're just going to say possibly. There could be something going on. It could be. That is not definitely. There's clearly problems behind the scene, Johnny, because Mesut Ozil is not even in the 18 or 23 or whatever you call it, travelling parties and all that sort of stuff. So the manager has got massive issues to deal with, and difficult issues, I would imagine, with having the highest paid player not even in the squad. So that is going to be a tough one for the manager to deal with. And certain other players going on Instagram and all that sort of stuff, backing those comments from supporters. No, I don't think that's right.
Well, those were the chants in the stadium. Mesut Ozil was the name that kept ringing out. And you just wonder whether if Unai Emery wants to get those fans back on side, he might soften on the German playmaker. We're going to be talking about this throughout the show. It's one of our top stories. Coming up next, just how good are England?
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
AsSpokesmanSaid.com is a leading price comparison website that allows you to compare every energy tariff on the market in seconds. We have more deals than any other comparison website offering energy prices, and our impartial independent switching service is free of charge. Nearly 50% of UK households have switched bills, and there are hundreds to be saved. Visit AsSpokesmanSaid.com, as recommended in The Guardian, The Times and The Sun. AsSpokesmanSaid.com.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search One You.
Love Sport.
There's been a bit of a war of words today between England coach Eddie Jones and Warren Gatland. He said, listen, England have had their World Cup final already. They beat the All Blacks. They're going to really struggle. Eddie Jones simply replied, send my best wishes to Warren. I hope he enjoys the 3rd and 4th place playoff. Quite feisty.
Yeah, Eddie Jones not satisfied with the place in the final. He's still, dishing out a few verbal shots as well. We can hear from both those coaches now. Of course, Warren Gatland outgoing after 12 years in charge of Wales. What a brilliant stint he's had. Still no World Cup final, though, much to the displeasure of Wales fans. An agonising defeat against South Africa yesterday. And this is what Warren Gatland had to say on whether or not South Africa, who knocked his Wales team out, could beat England next Saturday in Yokohama.
Yeah, they've got a very good chance. They might need to be a bit more expensive in terms of the way they want to play. We've seen in the previous World Cup sometimes teams don't always turn up for a final, so it'll be interesting to see how England are next week. But I think it should be a good game.
Yeah, obviously a sort of perceived little dig there from Warren Gatland, questioning whether or not England can turn up for the final. Obviously easier to turn up if you actually make it, something that Wales have never actually done ever. But there we go. Eddie Jones was asked if he had a response to that comment. This is what he had to say.
Well, guys, can you just send my best wishes to Warren and make sure he enjoys the third and fourth playoff?
I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, not satisfied with the place in the final. And to be fair, I think the Warren Gatland, I wouldn't say he's out of order, but I don't think it wasn't deserving of some sort of response from Eddie Jones. He knew he was going to get a response. I think Warren Gatland was annoyed, obviously, to have lost that game, and annoyed, if you like, to have been slightly outthought, possibly, by his opposite number, Rassie Erasmus, the South Africa coach. He also had a lot of injuries to contend with. It was a heartbreaking defeat, just 3 points in it, of course. I just want to hear quickly from Rassie Erasmus, the South Africa coach, his thoughts on England making the final in the first place. Then we'll get into the mind games from last week and looking ahead to the final as well.
We don't have the money that England have, and we don't have the qualified coaches and the resources around player development and player pathways. I think England is definitely right up there. And then obviously in the Premiership rugby, there's rich owners that back their clubs.
Well, Rassie Erasmus clearly taking the whole thing very, very seriously. He said that he's wearing a lucky shirt this tournament. It's already worked for him so far. He's going to be wearing it on Saturday. That could be the difference. And Martin, we can tell what a thoroughly interesting individual bloke he is, because his old lucky shirt was a white button-up shirt, and his new lucky shirt, after he lost in the old one, is a white button-up shirt. So the only real headline is Rassie Erasmus changes his shirt only once his team lose a game of rugby.
So he washed it?
I imagine he washes it between games. We can only hope.
It's interesting, those comments. I don't think what Warren Gatland said is a war of words, Johnny. I think it's a very fair and reasonable comment after you've played such a heroic performance on Saturday morning against the tournament favourites, the world champions, and to push himself like they did and dominate from start to finish. It is very difficult. It is difficult a week after to come back with the same level of performance. And I was full of confidence last week going into that game.
You were.
That Eddie's comments and his confidence, he oozed confidence, arrogance, passion, and he was very, very clever in how he dealt with that last week. And I think he's got a real tough task. His players will have to be at their best again to win this game.
Remember, it's only once ever that a team has beaten New Zealand and then gone on to win the World Cup as well.
Is that right?
That was 1991. That was 28 years ago. It was an amateur game. Things were very, very different back then. What stayed the same, though, from 1987, the first ever World Cup, until today, is that New Zealand have pretty much always been the favourites. That's why it's not commonly done that you beat New Zealand and win the tournament. Of course, they've never actually lost in a final except that time in South Africa 24 years ago, and South Africa is who we're going to be coming up against on Saturday. They've won 2 out of 2. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult game. I think you can way too easily say, as we did a bit last week, because on paper, England or New Zealand would have been favourites, but whoever won that semi-final would win the World Cup. They'll be favourites, but it's very different to actually go out there and win it. And there were a few little mind games, if not being played by Warren Gatland, by Rassie Erasmus, do you not think, Martin?
Yeah.
With those comments about the money and the financial backing that the RFU have.
Yeah, it's making England to be big England and little old South Africa.
Yeah.
How many people they got in South Africa to pick from? Millions.
A lot of people.
Millions.
100 million people.
Millions.
Yeah.
But they lost in the first game against the All Blacks,
They did.
didn't they?
And no team's ever lost a game in the tournament and gone on to win it.
That's what I was going to say. You beat me to it. No team has ever lost that first game and gone on to win it. But perhaps we shouldn't even be talking about it like that, because that's probably going into an area where that's kind of negative, thinking that they could perhaps do it. But no, it's a real tough game. But saying that, Guy, I still think we've got far too much to beat them if we play to the same power and pace that we played with on Saturday morning.
What was it you enjoyed most about that performance? If you had to sort of choose either one player or one aspect of the performance, the defending, the kicking, the attacking, anything in particular that you thought that is what won us that game?
Guy, the performance started last week. Eddie's comments, it all started off the pitch before the game, in the build-up, in the lead-up to the game. It all started with the mind games and his comments. Who thinks we're going to win? No one. He didn't even give him a chance to answer. Then he spoke about how great the world champions are and they're the best team ever. and he built them up into this unbeatable, magnificent unit, which they are. But he pushed it and pumped it non-stop and probably went back to his players and said, don't you dare believe any of that. Probably, I was going to say another word, but I better not. And then at the beginning of the game on Saturday, the V shape for victory opposite the haka, when a few of the England players were actually in the other half of the All Blacks. And the referee was saying, come back into this side, come back over here, you're not allowed to be over there. And they didn't move. And then the TV went to a clip, I think it was of Farrell grinning whilst, and I'm sitting there thinking, we're going to win this. We're going to win this. There's no way we're going to lose this. No way. And the ball hadn't even been kicked. And then, right at the beginning, you're more on rugby than I am. Farrell turned to the referee and said, I'm not kicking this. This is going a different way, just to let you know. And I thought, oh my God.
Clever little bits like that.
Yes. All those psychological moments, all that went into that performance. That was awesome. And that's all come from the confident manager and leader of our country's rugby team.
That Owen Farrell smile wasn't really a smile, was it? It was somewhere between a grimace and a growl. It was
a smirk. Was it a
smirk? That's what I was thinking.
But it was
smirk.
a kind of evil smirk.
It was.
Like if you were in a bar and a bloke across the bar started smirking at you like that, you would think, right, I'm going to go to a different
You'd
pub.
think that what was about to happen to you was what happened to New Zealand. Owen Farrell, what a performance, by the way, for a bloke pretty much on one leg, as Eddie Jones said himself. For 50 minutes of that game, he never, ever gave a single inch. In fact, if anything, his tackling got even more dominant. He couldn't kick his goals. He probably couldn't run at full speed. It did not stop him being so dogged in defence and still actually, passing the ball well, moving the ball well. He just wasn't going to make any great line breaks, but he never really does that. Anyway, he's there for his leadership, for his spirit, and you could see afterwards, giving a team talk in that huddle, wow, you thought there is a competitor. We knew it already, but what a performance from that man. He has a dead leg. We think he and Johnny May are going to be absolutely fine. It's just that one injury concern. Ben Spencer, the Saracens scrum half, replacing Willie Hines, and he's joined the squad today.
I think in terms of both the tactical decisions and the performance on the pitch, we've got to have a word for Maro Itoje as well, where you've got the All Blacks drafting in an extra Barrett brother. There seemed to be an infinite supply. Adding him in at 6, where he's never started before, simply and straightforwardly to dominate that line out. Maro Itoje just going, nope. Hello, lads. These are all mine.
And Courtney Laws, both
Laws.
brilliant, but Maro Itoje even better in the loose, disrupting every move, slowing every ball down at the breakdown. And he and Tom Curry and Sam Underhill, who I thought were both exceptional again, were absolutely monstrous. It was so difficult to pick a man of the match because I genuinely thought almost any of the 15 out there were exceptional to a man. Maro, I think, though, rightly got it. I think he was just absolutely everywhere. And as you say, Johnny, the line-out was what we talked about in the build-up. It wasn't even a factor. We dominated it, if anything.
And that Curry, I think he's only 20 years old.
21, and he's got an identical twin who a lot of people, Kieran Critchard, who's a Sale fan, obviously does the Premier League and Championship fan show here on Love Sport. He says Ben Curry's just as good.
Ben Curry.
Ben Curry, his twin brother. Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. That they made their debuts age 19 for England against Argentina 2 years ago when there was a Lions tour going on. I tell you what, I bet they're on the next Lions tour. And when you mentioned that kickoff as well, Mark, I was reading this morning.
He's on TV, Ben Curry.
There's Ben. That is weird. Yeah, he's a bit better looking than Tom, I'd say, actually.
Quite a lot better looking.
They are fairly identical, but maybe not completely. But just lastly, on that start, the intensity of it, I was reading this morning, I think one of the newspapers picked out 6 or 8 moments and tackles that define the England effort. And one of them, and probably the most significant of all, as brilliant as Sam Underhill's tackle on Geordie Barrett late on was, where he picked him up, was Tom Curry hitting whoever it was that caught that ball for New Zealand off the kickoff, setting the tone from second one, and quoting the fact that John Mitchell, the defence coach, has been showing endlessly clips of when New Zealand came out and absolutely smashed Israel Folau in the first few seconds of the last World Cup final, saying that is what you've got to be like from minute 1 to minute 80. And you know what? We were. It was relentless. It was brilliant. And I've never seen a team take it to the All Blacks quite as well as that. We deserved to win that game. And now we've got a massive challenge coming up next week, but plenty of time to look ahead to that. Absolutely brilliant to see. Fantastic.
It's going to be glorious. It is going to be glorious. We'll talk throughout the show. We've got a sports psychologist coming on the line about how England can gear themselves up again for this and how as well they can deal with that favourites tag, because being underdogs suited us quite nicely for this semi. It will suit South Africa quite nicely in the final. Coming up, we're talking to the President of the United States.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Find out what you need to do to prepare at gov.uk/Brexit.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the rent, and. The cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice, soon as. I did.
Macmillan, right there with you. Call now or search Macmillan Money Worries.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids, so make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child's up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
This is Love Sport.
Are you throwing away your hard-earned money on expensive energy bills? Keep the price down when you turn the heating up. You could be saving hundreds by switching to a cheaper deal. A spokesman said.com compares all the best deals on the market to find you the one that saves the most cash. Find the cheapest energy tariffs for you. Go to a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
And we're joined on the line now by Cal Halbert, who is the voice of Love Sport Radio. Normally our most important guest whenever he's on the line. But I gather, Cal, you're actually with the President of the United States. Is that right?
That's true. Everybody knows I'm a really good friend of Donny, and he regularly pops by on Air Force One to come have a cup of coffee with me.
That's very nice of him. I mean, I'm obviously embarrassed to ask him for a chat. I know these things have to go through the official channels, the White House press office and what have you. But do you think he'd be available for a quick chat? Because there's a big sporting story involving him.
Oh, I don't know. I'll give him. Hang on, I'll pass you over. So I can't guarantee what
Okay,
they'll say.
we'll just try.
I'll
Just
pass
try.
you over. Here we go. Hi there, you're through to Donny. How are you? So great. I'm great. So great. So great.
Mr. President, hi. Great to speak to you. Thank you for your time. We here at Love Sport Radio, we're more sporting than political animals, but you, of course, had a little sporting excursion this weekend. You went to watch the Washington Nationals baseball game. But it didn't end well, did it? They didn't respond very nicely to you in the stadium.
No, they're nasty guys. I asked for my change after I bought a hot dog, and they said I couldn't have my change. They're nasty people. Nasty, nasty people. That was the worst thing that happened that day, Johnny.
Well,
that was the worst thing that happened that day.
Beyond the hot dogs and the absence of change, there was, of course, the small matter of you being roundly booed when you entered the stadium.
Totally false. Totally false.
Well,
Never happened.
well,
They
Donald,
were saying,
I've seen the
they
footage.
They were saying woo, not boo, woo. That's
Okay,
what they were
okay,
saying.
well, I might have misheard that, but then whenever you were up on the big screen, there were very loud chants of "lock him up." That must be hard to hear.
Well, you know, they were actually saying lock her up. You said you misheard the woos for the booze. You'll mishearing that. Maybe you should get your ears tested, Johnny. Believe me, you're a nasty guy. Believe me. I like Love Sport Radio. I think it's a great radio station, but I don't like you, Johnny. Believe me.
Okay, well, I'll have to apologise for that, Mr. President. In terms of your own afternoon, you actually left the game with a whole innings left. Many thought that was in the face of the booing. If they weren't chanting about you, why didn't you hang around?
Well, because I was very hungry, and I needed to come over to the UK to go and see my friend Cal. He's a great guy, believe me. He's such a great guy. I wanted to go up, and I wanted to go have my hot dog, and I told you before I had a real nasty problem with them. I like to put the mustard on first. Then I like to put the ketchup on. That's what I like. That's the way I like it. That's just the way I like it. That's how everybody likes it. And they wouldn't do it that way, and I didn't like those people. I don't like those people. And then when I gave them the change, they wouldn't give me any change back. They said, it's $2. I gave them $2. I wanted change. They said, no, Mr. President, it's $2. I said, surely I'm the president. I shouldn't have to pay for this sort of thing. You know, believe me. Nasty people. Nasty, weak people. Weak people.
Well, that's why you're such a good businessman, of course. I have to say the hot dog sounds lovely, but are there any sports left in America that don't hate you? Because the NFL aren't keen on you. Now you've lost the MLB. Is there anywhere you're actually welcome?
Of course I am. I'm hugely respected with the WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment. Me and Vince McMahon, we had Battle of the Billionaires at WrestleMania. It was huge. Did you see it? It was huge.
I
Do you
actually
believe
did.
me? It was so great. It was huge. I shaved his head, and I was the greatest because I'm the richest. I bought Monday Night Raw from him. I was so great. Wrestlers love me. I can't believe that people wouldn't want to watch greased-up men with me. I think it's great. That's what they want to see. That's what they want to see.
Well, when we're talking about very rich people, I've got to ask you about the second man in line. Well, no, third by now. Third man in line to the throne, Prince Harry. We're hearing that he and his wife Meghan Markle are thinking of relocating to America on a permanent basis. What would you make of that decision? Would you welcome them into your country with open arms?
Absolutely not. I don't like the lady. She was so nasty to me. Did you see the nasty things she said about me? She's such a nasty lady. So nasty. I like Prince Philip. We have a lot of the same views. But Harry and Meghan are nasty people, believe me. Believe me.
And just finally, of course, you're known for your spectacular mane, your locks of wonderful blonde hair that are definitely...
Great hair.
Definitely
Great hair,
real.
Johnny. Great hair.
And not
Great
a wig.
You need to stop talking. You keep interrupting me all the time. Nasty guy. Nasty guy. You're interrupting me. I know you're asking me questions, but you're interrupting me. I should be able to talk whenever I want, Johnny.
I must apologise.
Listen, you've just interrupted me again, Johnny. Listen to me. You're interrupting me all the time. See, you wouldn't get this with Martin Allen. That's why he's the talented one, believe me.
Ooh, live on the radio, like a dagger into the heart. Go on then. When we're talking about people with really terrible hair, what do you make of Boris Johnson's job over here as Prime Minister?
I think Bojo does such a great job, and he needs to read my book, The Art of the Deal, which I've said to him. I've signed it for him. I signed it. Said, to Boris, lots of love, Donnie. And he read it, and he's going to get the greatest deal for Britain, believe me. And if he needs a hand, I'm only on speed dial. I'll do it for a bucket of chicken.
He'll pull it off at some point in early January 2020, no doubt. Mr. Trump and indeed Cal Halbert, voice of Love Sport, a real pleasure to speak to you. Enjoy the rest of your cups of coffee and your respective hot dogs. Martin, quite the experience that, joined on the line by the leader of the free world.
Do you know what, Johnny? I absolutely love listening to him. I think he's so clever that he can just flip all that out. It's brilliant, isn't it? He's brilliant.
The president?
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Isn't he?
Is it not slightly worrying?
What's his son called, Johnny? The president's son?
Ooh, it is. He's got a few. Do you mean the really young one?
Yeah, with the swept across
he's
hair
called
and the square
Barrett
head.
Trump or something, isn't he?
Barrett?
What is he called? Something really stupid. It's not a normal name.
I mean, what a life he's going to have, isn't he?
So Eric Trump is the oldest. Barron is the little one.
Barron, that's it.
You say what a life. Do you want your life to be going to the baseball with your dad and the entire stadium chanting "Lock him up"? You know what I mean?
He'd have been singing it as well.
I'd want to be under the radar. Mr. Pochettino might be hoping he could go under the radar as well. He's actually been taking a bit of flack from Spurs fans, not because they lost to Liverpool at the weekend, not even because the performance was particularly poor, but because of the team he picked. They seem to have turned a corner against Red Star. He changed the lineup. They won 5-0. He made 4 changes from that game. He brought Rose back in. He brought Alderweireld back in. Brought Winks back in and Christian Eriksen, who quite clearly doesn't want to be there. Are the Spurs fans right to be annoyed when they see people who don't like the club starting for the club?
What was the performance like, Johnny, at Liverpool?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was quite good. They nearly went 2-0 up, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, hit the post.
They did.
Yeah. What are they annoyed about, the fans? What was that?
I think they're annoyed, certainly, that Eriksen is in the mix because, as they pointed out, their stat of the evening was that the goalkeeper, Paulo Gazzaniga, who I know you've managed in the past, actually created one more big chance than Christian Eriksen, and Gazzaniga created one.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad result. Quite a good performance, I thought. Bit unlucky at times. Playing against European champions, aren't they, Liverpool? European champions.
They are?
Yeah. So playing against quite a good team. Probably put his best team that he's got out. I thought it was a disappointing performance from Dele Alli, which would have really disappointed the manager. I suppose everyone's so quick nowadays, aren't they? Just jump on the manager's back. But, sometimes you have to question and say, well, what about some of the players? Because that performance from Dele Alli yesterday, that's nowhere near good enough where he was 2 years ago, where he was an outstanding young player, which is why he's lost his place in the England team. So that one would have been a questionable player to play for me. After playing in the week against Partizan Belgrade, those lads from those countries, they don't travel very well over here. They never have done. Was it old Yugoslavia, innit, where they were coming from? So never really travel well, God bless them. No surprise Spurs beat them 5-0. And going up there, you need a different type of play, different type of way of playing, and you'd freshen it up, which is normal. So no blame on the manager for that one.
What's going wrong with Dele Alli? Roy Keane said at the weekend he thinks he's some kind of male model. He needs to have a look in the mirror and ask where all that hunger and desire has gone. Do you think that's the case? Is he just not that bothered about being a footballer?
Johnny, I don't know personally what he's like and what he's been like and how he's lived his life. If he's living life in the fast lane in the West End of London, or if he gets his head down, trains, looks after his body, does everything you have to do, to reach the very top and stay at the top. He's a very talented technical player. He's brave in tackles to get himself to defend. He's had some outstanding moments in his career, but I suppose we saw pictures a couple of weeks ago, Johnny, of a £250,000 convertible Rolls Royce.
We did.
I mean, I've got to take you back to that Barcelona team when Xavi was driving around in a little Fiat Uno, and they'd just won the Champions League 2 or 3 times, that sort of stuff. And I thought to myself, well, I'm not sure about that really.
I take your point, but the car isn't what is stopping him from playing well. It might be a manifestation of what's going wrong.
You said, has he got the hunger? You can go in a garage and say, excuse me, mate, can I buy that car? He said, yeah, how much is it? £250,000. Yeah, no problem. Sometimes, Johnny, with hunger, it can be a little bit seen it, done it, arrived, got all the money, and that hunger, that drive, that desire, passion. We've seen it so many times over the years, it just sort of falls by the wayside and start living the life.
So if Dele Alli was told, Dele, you've got to score 12 Premier League goals this season or you'll be working for minimum wage next year, we might see a change.
Well, he's out the England squad. He's out of that now. And how long will it be till that door at Tottenham closes? Because it won't last forever. They won't keep him. They won't keep him long. Don't worry about that. It doesn't matter what he was like 2 years ago when he was outstanding. If he doesn't come up with the 12 goals, they will have decisions to make. And if it means moving people on, it's quite clear that players need moving on from Spurs. That's obvious to everybody, isn't it? I mean, they've still got the same defence and goalkeeper from what they had 5 years ago. And the manager's said publicly he needs to freshen it up, and he hasn't done. And you could put Dele Alli into that bracket.
I do find it extraordinary how quickly things can change. The idea that Dele Alli could fall from grace in this way. He was being talked about as an England starter, a Tottenham starter for the next decade. He was being linked with Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. I guess it's a testament to why everyone always needs to work hard. Pochettino called him the best 21-year-old in the world barely 18 months ago. What a fault that is. Up next, we are talking thrashings. If you're a Southampton fan, close your ears.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
Think the energy price cap will save you money? Think again. You could be saving a lot more on cheaper energy tariffs. Price comparison site A Spokesman Said will show you just how much money you could be saving against your current tariff. Don't throw away your hard-earned money to the energy companies. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could switch to cheaper bills in minutes.
Aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident. And save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices.
Love Sport.
There are losses, there are big losses, and then there is Southampton versus Leicester. I had to put my phone on airplane mode because I was having dinner with a friend and the goal alerts were coming through so quickly. Shut up, stop buzzing. If you could start defending just for a minute, lads, that would be really, really helpful. A 9-0 defeat at home. It equals the record for the biggest defeat, biggest win in Premier League history. Martin, have you ever seen a performance that insipid?
Insipid, yeah, good word, Johnny. It's been such a good football club, Southampton. It's such a good football club, so professionally run. Good young players coming through their academy, often being sold to keep the place going. But it just seems that even with 10 men, you've got to remember they had 10 men for a lot of that game, and it definitely was a red card without a shadow of a doubt for Ryan Bertrand. It just seemed that they didn't compete. They didn't... everything. It was everything about it. I don't like really to say it, but for the manager on that one, when you're in that technical area and you get a pasting like that, you know there's going to be question marks over your future. And he wouldn't have slept all night. He'd have been up all night. He'd have probably got into the office early the next morning with his staff, and they'd have probably been asking themselves questions all night, as in why, what did they do, what did they say, how did they prepare training, what tone did they put out to the players, because it really was a poor performance. And it's got to be said, Johnny, and you can't forget this, against a very, very good Leicester City team. They are top quality. And I've heard people saying, do you think they're going to make the top four? I don't think it's a question of making the top four. I think they'll finish third. I think they'll be right on the tails of the top two.
With a result and a performance like that, as a manager, do you read more deeply into it? Do you start thinking about problems in the squad, divisions?
Oh, yeah.
But can it not just be, we got a man sent off, it was an off day, it was raining, and Leicester are really good?
No, Johnny, I think you can. I can see where you're coming from. I can see where the direction of your question is. But when you go to 10 men, you do practice it at the training ground. You do practice it. So you basically play, Johnny, deeper with your back four. You put your midfield four, so your wingers come back in to basically make extra fullbacks on the wings. You play with a deeper four, and your centre forward, he doesn't really high press unless he can really engage and tackle. And then he comes back. So you've basically got 10 people behind the ball, and your centre forward comes back into the centre circle on the halfway line. And if they're progressing down the pitch, he actually comes back into his own half to make it difficult to break down. But the other night, they just didn't get that shape. They didn't get that tenacity and spirit and attitude as a group to keep, not concede goals. And the more goals were going in, the worse, God bless, it was getting for them. And, I felt for the manager. I really did, because I really like him. I think he's inspirational. I like his interviews. He's done a great job. He's had a good record previously to coming over to Southampton, and I felt for him. I have been in that position, and the media's after you, the fans are after you, and I don't envy him one little bit.
Where's it gone wrong for him?
The players ain't good enough, mate. The players ain't good enough. They need a massive investment of better players. They're just there's some of those players in that squad that are not good enough, and they have not invested, in my mind, enough in their playing squad. And he's left now to pick up the pieces, but they're clearly not good enough.
Is there a point then in that context? And we're now in a bizarre scenario, by the way, in Posh Boys on Drive, where you've got Johnny Burrow arguing for patience with a manager, Martin Allen suggesting that he could be under pressure.
He spent too long with you.
Well, he is under pressure. If you lose by 9 at home, and it was 9 and it could have been
more,
quite a lot more, then whoever you are, you've got to realise they could now sack me and bring somebody else in. But the new person coming in, Johnny, he's going to have them same players.
And this is the thing. Is there an argument, and it's similar to the Tottenham situation, if you know that actually elements of the squad aren't good enough, if you have faith in the manager's actual ability, which I think everyone does in Hasenhüttl.
The Klopp of the Alps.
The Klopp of the Alps. Love that. Why would you sack him?
No, that's the nickname he came with. Yeah, because he looks a little bit like him. He's from obviously a similar part of the world. He preached a similar motivational message, and I think that the sort of achievements he'd had previously had been deemed a little bit like what Klopp had done in his career before he left Germany on a smaller scale. And it's also quite catchy. I like him. I was surprised in a way that Southampton didn't finish higher last season, only because I felt like not just the results improved, but it was one of those where I felt like a mood lifted. Mark Hughes, no offence to him, he's done really good jobs in his career, but not so much recently. But it was almost toxic down at Southampton, and Hasenhüttl came in and lifted it immediately.
And Guy, where did they finish last year?
So I think 16th is where I'd say they finished, and it was comfortable enough in the end because.
And what's been their investment in the summer?
Well, it wasn't a great deal, and I wanted to read you this tweet because I thought it was interesting, obviously from a Southampton fan, and it goes, Claude Puel drilled the spirit out of the team. We saw something similar at Leicester, if you like, so I could sort of see where he's coming from there. Pellegrino coached any attacking flair out of them. I'm not sure what he coached into them, if I'm perfectly honest, but that's what he makes of that. Hughes destroyed any residual defensive organisation, and all of them bought poorly, so Hasenhüttl has no money available to rebuild it. They did sign Shea Adams, of course, for decent money, 15+ million quid from Birmingham. It was seen as a good bit of business. Obviously, the Danny Ings transfer became permanent. That loan was paid for. I think that was around 20 million quid, but admittedly it was done before Hasenhüttl came in. But I think most people would say he's been one of the few bright spots this season. But there wasn't an awful lot more money spent. There's a few youngsters getting a chance, which I guess fans, as a default, like to see. But if they're not good enough, they're not good enough. And
I take your point about fans. Fans do like to see players coming in from the academy, but if you lose, I couldn't care less. Promise you that. Absolutely. If you keep losing and you lose 9-0 and you've got a couple of academy players, no one even mentions it. They're not one bit bothered. Promise you, when they walk away with their scarf or their heads down on the ground and they're going back to their car having lost 9-0, I think there was a few players from their academy playing the other night, but nowhere near it. Absolutely nowhere near it. They need to invest seriously in some money, and everybody stop smashing the manager because the players they've got are not good enough.
I seriously think it's one of those where if they fire this manager, it could be possibly like Watford are finding, but I think Watford's squad on paper is probably a bit stronger, but you almost don't know what you had, and you get rid of him and you think, oh God, he was actually getting, not on Friday night, but generally speaking, almost as much as possible to do. I might be proved wrong, but I think Hasenhüttl has the qualities of a good manager. I think he'll go on and be successful elsewhere. I think Southampton could kick themselves. He's now favourite to be the next Premier League manager to be sacked. Odds-on favourite as well. The last manager to be odds-on was Javi Gracia back at the start of September. We know what happened there.
Yeah. I've read this afternoon that the Southampton players and staff are paying some money to a fund or something.
They're
Tell me
donating
about that, Guy.
a day's wages for the day nominally of that game on Friday to the Saints Foundation, the club's in-house charity, which
So the players are doing that?
The players are doing that. I think possibly the manager's doing that as well. So a day's wages, which is probably several £1,000s in all of their cases, bar possibly the academy players. So it's a decent-sized gesture, both financially and in terms of the actual goodwill behind it. Would you say, is that enough? Does that mean something to the fans? Will they go all right then?
Well, I suppose there's going to be the negative people, not fans, negative people that would say, well, that's nothing. They're probably earning 30, 40, 50 grand a week. So to give one day away, why are they not doing a week's wages? Because it costs us £70 to come and watch you play and you perform like that. So that's some people are bound to look at it like that, aren't they? They're always negative in life. God bless them. Other people would say, what a fantastic gesture, or that's a fine gesture, not perhaps fantastic, but it's a fine gesture. At least you're thinking about us and you are giving something back. But we want action on the pitch, and we want points, and we want performances. So well done for the money, but we want that.
Well, there is one silver lining for Southampton. They can bounce back next week. Who've they got again? Oh, yeah, Man City.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Have you had enough of extortionate energy bills? A spokesman said could help you find the cheapest energy deals on the market. Don't take our word for it. There's hundreds of spokesman said customers who've saved big. Brian from Derbyshire saved £400 on his energy bills, and Tony from Northampton saved a massive £2,800 on his gas and electric. A spokesmansaid.com, the leading price comparison site where you can switch to the cheapest energy tariffs on the market in just minutes.
A fighting for you, saving you money.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
Lots to come on Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive. We're going to be joined by a board member of the Arsenal Supporters Trust to find out if that really is curtains for Xhaka. We're talking to Dewey Morris, former England scrum half, to get the inside line on how we can beat the Springboks in the World Cup final. And we're talking Tiger Woods as well. He is well and truly back. But before all of that, it's time for the news.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker.
This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 4, the EU has agreed to the United Kingdom's request for a Brexit extension to the 31st of January. European Council President Donald Tusk says the agreement is flexible, allowing Britain to leave if a deal is agreed ahead of the new deadline. Later, MPs will vote to see if they back holding a general election in December, which Boris Johnson's asking for. But Conservative Member of Parliament Tobias Ellwood wants another way forwards.
We're now in this tussle as to whether it's wise to have Brexit concluded or go straight for a general election. And my view would be very much that we get Brexit done.
Police say there are no signs of life from a man trapped 270 feet up a chimney in Carlisle. Officers say he's been stuck upside down on top of the former cotton mill tower for around 11 hours. Security officials are stepping up the monitoring of high-priority Islamist suspects in Britain following the death of the leader of Islamic State. It's understood the move is just a precaution amid warnings of the chance of reprisal attacks. Authorities still haven't confirmed the nationalities of the 39 people who were found dead in a lorry in Essex last week. Home Secretary Priti Patel has been updating MPs on the investigation this afternoon.
I can confirm to the House that as of today I have received agreement from the Belgian authorities to deploy extra UK immigration enforcement officers to Zeebrugge.
Meanwhile, a lorry driver accused of manslaughter following the discovery last week has appeared in court on a video link and has been remanded in custody. One of the men convicted of murdering soldier Lee Rigby has admitted attacking a nurse in Broadmoor Hospital. Michael Adebowale pleaded guilty to punching a healthcare assistant while being held in the secure hospital last year. And the Darkness's Justin Hawkins has apologised for the use of swords on the front cover of the group's latest album. Asked if it could be seen to glamorise knife violence, the frontman said they didn't recognise that it might be insensitive in the current climate. That's the latest. I'm Barry Weir.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Posh Boys here on Love Sport Drive. It was an eventful break there because Guy Watts suggested I was going to be substituted. Martin Allen started cheering and I started swearing at him. Here are your top stories this afternoon. Granit Xhaka. Why are we mentioning him? He was visited at home by several Arsenal teammates the day after the Arsenal captain swore at fans as he was subbed off against Crystal Palace. Saracen scrum half Ben Spencer has joined the England squad as an injury replacement for Willie Hines ahead of Saturday's World Cup final. And Eddie Jones has hit back at Warren Gatland after the Wales coach questioned whether England had already played their World Cup final. It's the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive. And we got to start with Xhaka, Martin. Let's go through what happens in this incident, right? Let's go through why the Arsenal fans are so upset. So step one, the board goes up. It's got his number on it, 34. The Arsenal fans start cheering. Step two, Granit Xhaka starts walking off the pitch very, very slowly. Step three, the Arsenal fans start jeering. Step four, Granit Xhaka removes the captain's armband from his bicep and rather than handing it to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, he throws it on the ground. Aubameyang has to pick it up off the floor. Step five, Granit Xhaka cups his hands behind his ears and starts giving it large to the crowd. Step 6, they get much louder. Step 7, he appears to swear at those supporters. Step 8, he basically misses Unai Emery's high five, rips his shirt off before he's off the pitch and goes straight down the tunnel. My question is simple, is there any way back for him at Arsenal Football Club?
No, it's looking very difficult for him. I think he'd have to apologise. Get on Arsenal TV, sit in front of them, explain how disappointed.
You think he should go on Arsenal fan TV and do it?
Well, where else are you going to do it? Tottenham?
Well, he could do it in a club. I think it's a really interesting suggestion. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but you're saying rather than a club-sponsored traditional press conference, he should go on a fan-run YouTube channel and do it there.
I thought that's run by Arsenal Football Club.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, don't go on that then. Go on the club website or club whatever it is and do an apology.
He could go on there if we're talking, and to be fair, Arsenal Fan TV are pretty controversial and divisive for Arsenal fans.
What is that, a fanzine television?
It's a sort of fan channel.
Oh, no,
yeah.
I didn't mean that.
But,
God bless you.
No, but seriously, is there an argument when we're talking about a player needing to do something drastic to reconnect with fans that he seems to have lost completely. What about going and doing it in their own backyard?
Yeah, I suppose he could do. I was perhaps never explained myself correctly there. He needs to go on and tell everybody in front of the camera he made a mistake. He was disappointed to come off. He was hurt by the actions of the paying public, and then he shook hands with. He didn't throw the armband on the floor. He threw it towards Aubameyang, who looks like about 10 yards away. And yes, it has landed on the floor, but I don't think he's done that in disrespect. He hasn't thrown it down in temper like Rawr. He's thrown it across to the other player to take the armband. The thing with the manager, I don't think that was very good, where he just missed the manager's hand as he was supposed to half shake hands with him. He gave the sub a pat to go out there, and he would have been really, really hurt by the reaction of the Arsenal supporters. Really hurt. Whether they would accept his apology and explanation, I don't know. Whether the manager will, I don't know. And whether the people upstairs, as in chief exec and owner, seeing one of their players doing that and basically having a go at your own paying public, that's a big error.
Well, Tim Payton is a board member of the Arsenal Supporters Trust. He joins us on the line now. Good afternoon, Tim. What's your take? Is there any way back now for Granit Xhaka?
Oh, yes, because ultimately the way back is to play well. That's what football clubs need. But it is more difficult. Arsenal kind of got to get this right, though. If you're going to freeze out Ozil, if you also freeze out Xhaka, what have you got left with your midfield? It's got to be sorted somewhere.
And where would you sort it? We heard the fans chanting Mesut Ozil's name this weekend. Is that because they're serious about wanting him back in the side, or is it a bit of a dig at Unai Emery?
I think probably at the ground, it's more of a dig at Unai Emery. I don't think at the beginning people had any concern about Ozil not playing. In fact, I think a lot of people could see the rationale in the situation that has arisen there and his attitude and approach towards things and it being the right thing to do. But when results keep going against you and when the performances are hard to watch and when the manager is unable to express any sense of vision or explanation of where he's heading, you get a lot of frustration building. And I do think yesterday's incident with Xhaka is as much about Emery as it is about him. Just like when it last happened with Burrow, it was by proxy a way of having a go at Wenger and the decisions he was making.
Tell me, what do you mean by the plans he's got and you can't see a vision or what all this I keep hearing about? What's all that about?
Well, I don't understand what Emery wants to do or what he's trying to do.
What's he supposed to say then?
I can't understand his English. Well, he could explain it in English so that I could understand what he was trying to do.
That's different to what I've been hearing, because I keep hearing Arsenal fans say, we don't know clearly what his plan is. And which manager explains their plan? I can't see it.
You tell me that you don't understand the vision and what Guardiola tries to do. You tell me that Klopp doesn't have a personality which he projects onto his club and has a rapport with his fans. Now, of course, they are the two outstanding managers in the game at the moment. But you could even look at Brendan Rodgers and the approach to coaching and how he talks. There's a lot more there, and it's undoubtedly a lot of this is because of the English. Now,
he doesn't speak good enough English.
Yeah. Now, if I can't understand him, it's very legitimate to say, do the players understand him?
Yeah, that's a fair comment. Yeah, I'll take your point on that. What grinds me a little bit, and I wonder how you could bat this one back at me. He's won with Sevilla. How many of those Europa Leagues? 3 in a row. He must have something good about him. And I saw Arsenal play 3 or 4 weeks ago against Notts Forest at the Emirates, and they were absolutely superb. And after watching that game, they were outstanding with young players playing. And if anybody said to me, would you be able to recognise what the manager wants? I'd say, yeah. 2 old in central midfield players, 2 centre-backs breaking wide, trying to get his full-backs to go higher. Lacazette trying to play on the shoulder to get him behind. Then they had that young boy playing Martinelli. Then they had Willock playing, and I thought with the other little centre forward who's come through the youth team as well, what's his name? Saka. I thought, oh my God, this is going to look like a decent Arsenal team when Bellerin comes into the team and Tierney goes into that team, and you've got a centre back there that's had a long term injury. And I thought when he comes back next to David Luiz, I thought that Arsenal team is going to be a proper good team. And last year, I remember Crystal Palace beating Arsenal, didn't they, at the Emirates quite comfortably when Zaha was brilliant. So I think there's massive overreaction. He needs time. 3 of your back 4, your best players, have not been playing. So wait till they're all fit. If Xhaka ain't good enough, then get him out now and move him on. And as for the other one, brilliant with the ball but won't run back and tackle anybody, and if he don't like it, he sulks. Why would anybody want him playing in your team? What's his name, Ozil? Why would any Arsenal fan now want him?
Tim, I was interested to see on Twitter today, no apology forthcoming as yet from Granit Xhaka, but a response implicitly to the incident from a certain Mr. Hector Bellerin, basically apologising on Xhaka's behalf, saying, listen, we're all human, things get a bit heated, let's move on. Now, the Arsenal fan in me goes, that's lovely. Hector standing up for his mate, standing up for the club. The cynic in me goes, that is Hector Bellerin making his bid for the Arsenal Football Club captaincy. And all of the replies to that tweet are Arsenal fans going, my captain, give him the armband. Do you think we could see that happen?
I wouldn't be at all surprised if that happens, because let's think through what happens with Xhaka now, and the manager needs him. The manager needs him in that midfield, given the squad at the moment. But it's really difficult to see it carrying on with a captaincy and the kind of focus on that now. So the practical solution is that he steps down as captain so that he can, quote, concentrate on his own game. You know what I mean? You know, the PR language there. That would seem to me like the way forward. If that happens, you've got Hector Bellerin just coming back from his long-term injury. And there is no doubt that what Bellerin has is the emotional intelligence to be captain. And you might say, well, come on, what's that all about? But in the modern game, you've got to have some media savvy. You've got to understand the position that you have more than ever before. And I think Bellerin shows, not just in that tweet you talk about there, but in, you know, how he conducts himself when he does talk, that he's got what you take in this modern age and would work well as a captain. So I can see that as a very likely scenario. We're going to have to get an apology from Xhaka or something from Xhaka by the weekend, because somebody's got to write the captain notes for him for the programme on Saturday.
I was just going to ask you about that. If he apologised and went in front of the camera and it was a heartfelt, genuine, you'll be able to see it, I'm sure, in his body language, in his eyes, you'll be able to spot it. Would the Arsenal fans give him a chance to come back in and make a mark to be the type of player he can be?
I think if there was some genuine contrition and then there was a genuine rolling up of the sleeves and playing hard, I think for a short period of time, there'd almost be a reaction against what happened at the weekend, you know what I mean? There'd be some sympathy and there'd be some deliberate support for him, because a lot of people, it all kind of snowballed very quickly, in that incident. But a lot of people are rightly very uncomfortable with that. So I think he'd almost get a short-term boost. But it's got to be genuine contrition. And of course, in football, you're as good as your last result or your last performance. But I think if handled correctly, then I do absolutely think that, he will continue to play for Arsenal.
When we talk about Arsenal, there's a temptation to talk about the last days of Rome. I'd rather talk about the last days of Wenger. The atmosphere in that stadium this weekend, how far was it from the kind of peak of hashtag Wenger out?
Oh, at times with Wenger, the stadium was much worse than that. I mean, I think that, the game with the incident with Burrow, the game where the substitution against Manchester United, where the whole crowd, I say the whole crowd, a lot of the crowd, you don't know what you're doing. Certain away games with the banners. There was a lot worse at times under Wenger. But what is going on at the moment actually is still the shockwaves from Arsene Wenger issues. You know, he had an awful lot of loyalty amongst some people. There were others who I think felt he went on far too long and is determined that doesn't happen again. You've got a lot of rebuilding from the squad that he left, you know, inappropriate wage offers, structure, having to focus more on the youth. I often used to joke that you want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaces Arsene Wenger, because you're living in, it's kind of like the culture war.
In his shadow, aren't you? In his shadow.
There is a shadow, but both a negative and a positive shadow, because you can see a certain amount of dividing amongst people on the approach they took, you know, with Wenger. I think there were some that would have gone with Wenger forever and felt like he got hounded out at the moment. I almost feel like, well, we'll hound this guy then, just to almost make our point. There is so much going on there, and you know, also this is a manager. You know, he's been told what to do with Ozil from above, or at least it's a joint decision. You know, the club decided to take a slightly longer-term approach for transfers. You know, buying a centre half who can't arrive till next year, buying an expensive
Tim, can I ask you
that, you know, will take time to settle. He's got a really tough job, Emily.
Tim, can I ask you a question? Saturday's game, Wilfried Zaha playing for Crystal Palace and Pepe playing for Arsenal. Pepe 72 million and they offered something like 45 million for Zaha. On Saturday's game, how would you have viewed both those players, and would you prefer if they'd have made the choice to take Zaha for 72 million rather than Pepe?
Oh, good question. I think I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit here.
Tim, thanks very much.
I always thought that Zaha would have a better season than Pepe this year, purely because he's Premier League ready. But in Pepe, they also were buying for the future. You know, it takes these youngsters that come out of France. You know, we've seen it with Henry. We saw it with Perez, who were world class. It takes them a year to settle into the culture, into the Premier League, into a new environment. And you can see flashes from Pepe of the pace and what he offers. You know, I will be able to answer you a lot better at the end of this year about whether they could have saved 25 million and had a better player. But that is clearly what they were thinking. It was clearly a slightly longer term buy than that. And we saw two fantastic free kicks midweek. But I must say, from what we've seen of Pepe in the Premier League so far, he's still got a lot of adapting to do.
Yeah, that said, can Zaha take a free kick like that? I don't think he can. Tim, great to speak to you. Thank you for your time. Tim Payton there, board member of the Arsenal Supporters Trust. Coming up, Manchester United away wins are like buses. You don't get one for 7 months and then two come along at once.
Love sport.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're right.
Secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the mortgage, and the cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice, soon as I did.
Macmillan, right there with you. Call 0808 808 0000 now.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids, so make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child's up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now. I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
This is Love Sport.
Manchester United hadn't won away from home in over 7 months. Then they did it in the Europa League and they did it in the Prem in the space of a week. Let's hear Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talking to the press after that result against Norwich City.
It's been, of course, too long, but it's great to have it done. And of course, this performance was a pleasing thing. It's a difficult place to come to, but when we're as focused and concentrated and on the front foot as we were today, we can beat anyone away from home.
Let's hear from midfield player Scott McTominay as well after he scored United's 2,000th goal in the Premier League.
I knew about that record before the game, and obviously it's nice. It's obviously a brilliant achievement for me to score again in the Premier League, and I just want more. I want to keep going. I'm hungry to keep myself fit in the team, and hopefully repaying the manager's faith, as he's shown tremendous amounts of it in me as well.
Turns out he might be quite good at football.
He is the one, Johnny. He said something interesting a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you picked up on it. He said that Jose Mourinho still texts him and contacts him and helps him with his bits and pieces of his game, which he loves. I think he is the future going forward, with a great positive attitude, self-belief, courage. He might not be the best player at the moment, but I think he's growing and growing and growing. And over the last few days, we've heard, and this is just my cynical mind coming to the fore, that Paul Pogba is going to be out until the end of December, maybe the new year, with his ankle injury, which he played in against Rochdale. And when he was coming back from that ankle injury, I thought, why the hell are you playing against Rochdale? Why don't you just give your ankle another 5 days or another week to recover before jumping back in? And if you remember, against Rochdale, he never moved out the centre circle. He was embarrassment. And I think it's just better for Manchester United, especially for their manager and the players, if you've got players like McTominay, who really have a drive and desire to be successful at Manchester United, rather than him hanging around with a ankle injury.
A couple of things I want to say actually linked to that, and first of those is on the Scott McTominay theme. Arsenal fans are talking, and to be fair, they were saying it before the announcement was made, that the player they probably wanted to see, given the armband. And yeah, we can probably put too much importance on this sort of thing sometimes. What does it actually matter who wears a captain's armband? It doesn't always have a huge difference. But I think the fans do care. I think they really do. And I think at the big clubs where there's the tradition of some of the club legends, Vieira, Roy Keane, Tony Adams, Nemanja Vidic, Rio Ferdinand, Ryan Giggs and Gary Neville as well at Man United. And I think, no disrespect to Ashley Young, who I think does have respect of the people at the club, because I think his attitude is still very good and he has achieved a lot in the game, but he's not the right captain anymore. I don't think David De Gea is a captain, not a sort of leader on the field. I look at someone like Scott McTominay and I know he's young, but he, to me, does play like a leader. He does want the ball, unlike Granit Xhaka, for example, as Ian Wright showed on some good analysis on Match of the Day 2 last night. He does carry the ball forward. He does take the fight, if you like, to the opposition. And you know what? He's starting to give us more of a return as well. He scored his first Premier League goal against Wolves towards the end of last season in a game United went on to lose. But it was a good goal. And he scored a couple more this season. A good goal against Arsenal as well, when he was probably United's best player in that game. And he was very good last weekend against Liverpool. And twice now, we've had United play quite a lot better than we were expecting them to. First, against Liverpool at home, the runaway league leaders. Probably should have won that game. Yesterday, go away to Norwich. Okay, it's Norwich, but Man City lost there a month ago. Man United hadn't won a league game in nearly 8 months away from home. So it did mean something to win that game. And Scott McTominay played a big part in that again. And I think that this is a guy, maybe not right now, but I think he could be a future Man United captain. I think also we're starting to see what life without Paul Pogba might look like.
And I think there's a point in the McTominay resurgence, or rather just surgence for United, for Arsenal as well, where a lot of people pointed to his inclusion by Mourinho when he was first in the team and said, he's kind of on the wind-up here. He's making a point. He does, of course, think McTominay is a good player, but there was a big chunk of it, which was him going to Paul Pogba, listen,
making a point.
I will drop you for a teenage Scottish central midfielder. For Arsenal...
What's the big deal about Scottish?
Nothing.
And he's not even, is he?
He's like, well, listen to him. He doesn't sound all that Scottish. Scottish international central midfield. And now, of course, there's a point here for Arsenal when they're chanting for Mesut Ozil, which is those players who are brought in, the kids who come on. Bukayo Saka brought on for Arsenal in place of Xhaka, partly because he could change the game, partly to make a point, can actually be better than just point makers.
They can, absolutely. I think, you question Jose Mourinho like that slightly at your peril. You look at what he's done in the game. This guy occasionally does do things just to make a point, but he normally wouldn't compromise himself so much as a manager without any means for it. And Scott McTominay has turned into a good player quite quickly as well, I add. Although there was a difference when he was picking him as part of the back three, which you might remember happened a couple of times towards the beginning of last season. We saw Ander Herrera selected there against Spurs as well. And they really were selections that you felt were Mourinho making a point to the upstairs, to the boardroom. And I think it successfully made that point. It wasn't particularly successful, of course, for his long-term job prospects. But no, I think it's great to see a youngster repaying the faith of both managers that he's had at senior level. And I think if you go back to that Liverpool game last week as well, one of the comments we picked up on from Solskjaer afterwards was about the speed of movement from United with the ball, wasn't it, Martin? You said, who do you think he's got in mind there? Paul Pogba. What happens yesterday? United, with Martial, I hasten to add as well, back in the team, making a massive difference. Moved the ball quickly. The players were moving so fast. They looked like they were enjoying playing with each other. And a couple of those goals were fantastic goals.
Yeah. And with the result last week against Belgrade.
Yeah.
And the win away at Norwich. And what a coincidence that some of his best players are now back playing in Ollie's team.
Makes a difference, isn't it?
Is that just and everyone for the last month, all you ever heard every day and read was Ollie's under pressure, Ollie's going to get the sack, who's going to come in and replace him? But now his best players are getting fit and getting ready. We're still waiting on Luke Shaw to come back, the left back.
It's making a difference.
Surely this must send a message right across the board to everybody, for any manager. If your best players are not fit, and it's like at Arsenal, with the three of the back four should be now soon be playing for Arsenal. Judge them when it gets a full team, not when you're playing reserves. Just imagine that Liverpool team, if you took three out of that back four out, what they would be like. They wouldn't be doing what they're doing. Man City, they've been out without their centre-backs. Laporte's out for quite a long time, losing company, and Stones being out injured and only just coming back, and they were susceptible to defeats, and they have been. You've got to back your manager, you've got to wait, you've got to let it take its course, and hopefully now, for you and Manchester United fans, you are going to see Man United start to climb. And I noticed on the bench they had old players. Matic is not even on the bench, is he?
I don't think he made the bench yesterday, no.
Doesn't even make the bench. Old, can't run anymore, is not mobile anymore. Compared to McTominay, he's a completely different player. McTominay's just gone past them all. And who's the left-footed boy from Chelsea, Mata? He can't run. He's got a lovely left foot. Great in a five-a-side game, but box to box, running around, going, imagine him chasing Wan-Bissaka up the wing if he was playing out on the left. Oh, my God. No chance. So he's getting young, fresh, hungry players, and until he moves that other lot out and gets 100% commitment from all his players, it will be up and down, but I think they're going in the right direction.
Another much maligned player this year has been Andreas Pereira, who's had to play because of the injury problems United have had, out of position on the right wing. Because most people have seen so little of him, they're going, A, he's rubbish, and B, what's Ollie doing? Last two games, he's played as a number 10, which is his more natural position. And you know what? He's had a really good game. He creates chances, he moves the ball quickly. He's not as cultured, he's not as good a footballer as Juan Mata, but physically, he's able to keep up with the pace of the game, maintain or even increase the tempo of a move.
When you say he's not as good a footballer as Juan Mata, what do you mean by that?
Well, look at some of the goals that Juan Mata's scored, Martin. He is a fantastic footballer.
But when you're talking about a footballer has to be able to run. It's not just being good technically. You've also got with the ball and how he can make a pass.
I mean
and
technically.
So purely technically, he's not Juan Mata, is he?
No.
But if you're going to... Mata couldn't play at the pace of the game right now, how it is at that top level. You saw those Leicester City players on Friday night. Oh, my God, they go box to box. They go from halfway line to penalty spot to score goals. They are so quick and powerful. And that boy Pereira, when he played number 10 against Liverpool at Old Trafford last week, I thought he was absolutely superb. And I think those are the types of players that you want in your club, and they probably just need another centre forward that could work either with Martial, or Martial play wide, which I don't think he really wants to do. But I think you can start to see Manchester United just coming back with younger, hungrier players, and I think the manager's got to take a lot of credit.
And I do look at that table now, and United are obviously slowly creeping up into 7th now, but 7 points behind what has become the top 4. And I think there's a weird irony. United have taken 7 of their 13 points from those teams currently in the top 4, and they haven't even played Man City yet. 7 points from 3 games against Liverpool, Arsenal and Leicester. A point against Arsenal as well, by the way. So that's, 8 of the 13 points against teams in the top 5. It's the smaller teams that we've struggled against. Yes, injuries have played a part. Mentality must have been part of it, but I think time has become, with our shows in particular, such a big theme. Whether it's Emery, whether it's Nathan Jones at Stoke, whether it's Solskjaer, whether it's Pochettino, it pays off normally. Not always, but
Guy,
normally.
how did they play? Did they play with a 3 against Norwich?
No, 4 at the back.
Change it to 4.
4-2-3-1 or 4.
It was kind of 2 up top in the end.
Kind of, but how dangerous and exciting does that front 3 look? Whoever you support, James, Rashford and Martial, when they're fit and moving at full speed.
They have to be fit. They have to be fit. And Martial is a big if in that territory. And
there's no backup.
And there is no backup. And this is the thing. When we're talking about no backup of strikers, when we're talking about United struggling against the less good teams in the league, which striker has previously had a reputation largely for maintaining fitness and also for being a flat-track bully who whacks in goals against rubbish sides? Oh yeah, Romelu Lukaku.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Hi, my name's Kurt Edwards. I work in advertising and live in Surrey. Last year, the family content insurance was £745. A friend of mine had recommended a spokesmansaid.com when it came for this year's renewal. I managed to get it for £403. So for those 10 minutes on that website, I saved over £340. Told my family, my friends, you'd be absolutely mad not to give it a go.
Thespokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
Love Sport.
I'm normally in bed at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, but some things are worth getting up for. And I have to say, that England rugby team did not disappoint me. We're joined on the line now by Dowie Morris, former England scrum half. Good afternoon, Dowie. Thanks for joining us. Was that the single best England performance we have ever seen versus New Zealand?
Versus New Zealand, without a shadow of a doubt, and arguably probably the best ever. I just thought it was so clinical. I thought the line-out was unbelievably effective, even though we did lose one ball that they scored off. But I think Steve Borthwick's done a fantastic job there. And really the set piece is key to everything. But the whole attitude, the two youngsters, the Underhill and Curry in the back row were just sensational. I mean, they just blew New Zealand away, which is no easy task. And in the manner of the preparation, I think Eddie Jones just said, okay, it's all the pressure's on New Zealand. In the end, it was, because England were just phenomenal. From minute 1 to minute 80, the forward set the pace, and then the backs dictated where the ball went.
Well, Eddie Jones got it really, really right. Not just tactically, as you say, but in the mind games as well. There was quite a lot of wind-up. He got that perfect, but it was all focused around England being the underdogs, right? And going into this final, we're not the underdogs anymore. So how is that Eddie PR media machine going to spin this?
This is above my pay grade, to be honest. All I can say is that I was on the bench for one final and played in a semi-final, so I was not lucky enough to actually play in a final. But look, Eddie Jones has done a phenomenal job with England. He's not everyone's sort of right person for the choice at the beginning, but actually he's proven his doubt is wrong. He's Marmite, really. Either love or hate him, but he has done a phenomenal job with picking this squad. And look, Warren Gatland loves to wind people up, and I think Eddie's just put him back in his place a little bit. But it's all mind games. These guys know each other. Hansen and Eddie Jones go back. So it's all what the press almost like and the public like. Really, there's a lot of respect for each other, because it's a flick of a coin in a sense. The Wales and South Africa game could have gone one of two ways. It went probably to the right winners in the end, and that's international rugby. It's played about on statistics now. It's played in areas of the field, and it's played on mistakes. But he gets it right on the pitch. His players get it right on the pitch, I should say, and he gets it right off the pitch in front of the microphone.
Dowie, everyone's made a lot of his comments and the psychological build-up to that performance. Can you explain to me, I know a little bit about rugby, but not a great deal. He brought Ford back into the team and moved Farrell across. What was all that about? Why did he do that?
It's a very simple thing, because in rugby you need people that can actually distribute the ball. Your forwards win it, your backs tell you by how many points in a sense. And if you've got two sort of first receivers, I think 2 10s in a sense, you've got more ammunition to throw the ball about, and forwards can come off you, and you can play out the back quite a few more times. So
right.
It's his preferred way of doing it. I think George Ford had to play, to be honest. Defensively, he's not the biggest, and he could get run over on Saturday, but there'll be people trying to help him out in that area. But that's something that, God has given you the size, but God has also given him his way to play the ball, and his distribution is fantastic. Farrell is just there at 12, and he will just hold his numbers and hold his fort in a sense. And he's not the ideal 12 for me personally. He's not an obvious choice as 12, because I like my 12s going back direct to the ball with a lot of pace and a lot of aggression, whatever. He isn't like that, even though he does stand his line. He tackles hard, but Eddie has found a way for these two to fit into his jigsaw, and it's and you got Tuolangi outside, who I thought had another outstanding game for England, and everything just seems to be on a roll. And that's the greatest word we use in rugby union, or in sport, I suppose, but definitely in rugby union, is momentum. And England have got some heck of a momentum behind them at the moment.
And what about psychologically, with such an awesome performance, with maximum effort going into Saturday's game? Is there a possibility that this game could be like after the Lord Mayor's show, and it's kind of not quite got the dynamic performance of last weekend? Could that creep in?
I think going back, look, sport is sport. We've all seen it, in anything you follow. Yes, it can happen. I just think the youthful exuberance that this England squad has got, the belief they've got, the way they performed against New Zealand, the best side in the world, they blew them away. End of story in every department. All right, defensively they were outstanding. I thought the lineup, apart from that one miss, was outstanding. When they bring the bench on, they're outstanding. I thought Ben Young's at 9. Again, he deserved the try that was unfortunately ruled out. He just orchestrated things going forward. Everyone played the part. You couldn't. I don't think Eddie Jones could have wanted, or John Mitchell, the defensive coach, or Steve Borthwick, or all the other guys, all the other coaches and the analysts that put their work in, couldn't have dreamt that it would go. It was almost a 100% game. We always class New Zealand as playing that 100% game, making no mistakes, no errors, whatever. Yes, England made 1 or 2, but they just have this belief. And the one thing they will believe, and one thing they will be told, they will be making history. If you win a World Cup, you make history. 2003, the guys did superbly well, and it's about time we've got someone in 2019 that can emulate that and actually do it. And this team is better, I've got to say, than 2003, because obviously the game moves on and they get fitter and whatever. But the analysts and all the people, all the coaches that have put that faith and in selection and faith in the players is coming to the fore. And yes, I could see, having a little bit of a blip, but no, I don't think anyone is going to touch England come this Saturday.
Yes, I love all that. I love England, I do.
Martin's eyes were just getting wider and wider as you spoke there, Dowie. You said, I think this team's better than 2003, and I actually thought he might be in some trouble. But from the scrum half...
Well, they won it. The only trouble I'd be is they won it, and then this team hasn't won it yet. So, again, I'd have to eat my words.
No, we believe in them. We believe in them. And one man who could be a part of that off the bench is Ben Spencer. He's replacing the injured Willie Hines. But this isn't necessarily a blow, is it? Just how good is Spencer?
He's a good lad. I mean, he's been at Saracens, for 8 years now. He's played behind a cock, and obviously Richard Wigglesworth. He's only got 3 caps, but, he plays the system. And the other thing I think people have got to understand is that Owen Farrell has a really big input on this England side. Obviously, Eddie Jones is the fulcrum. He's the man that makes the decisions. But this will be thought about. And if it hadn't been Ben Spencer, it would have been Richard Wigglesworth, who actually played against Leicester Tigers away on Saturday, because obviously Ben Spencer got the nod. This lad can box kick, and that's the way England play. England almost emulate the way Saracens play. It's a power game. With Mario Toja, they've got 5 guys in the pack when Cruz comes on, whatever. So they know each other. They know the way to play. And the way to play is put pressure on opposition. You get position by putting the ball in the air, box kicking or from a fly half, and that's what happens. And they squeeze them, and then you kick your penalties. Ben Spencer's grown up with this. Owen Farrell knows that. There is no problem if he comes on for 5 minutes or if he comes on for 75 minutes. If Youngs get injured with the fight, I don't think there'll be an issue, as long as his pack perform the way they can and the way they performed on Saturday against, the favourites, one of the greatest sides, or in sort of not in history, but obviously with Rich McCall, they've been great sides before New Zealand, but this team was just phenomenal, and England blew them away. So he will fit seamlessly into that. Hopefully he gets 10 minutes at the end, and hopefully he's on a winning side, but I have no problems with it whatsoever.
Dowie, just taking you back, you mentioned earlier to the 1991 World Cup. You played in the semi-final, and then you didn't play in the final. How was that? What was that all about?
I didn't. To be honest, man, I didn't play at all. It was one of those things you have to take it and bite down on the belt a bit, because it was just deemed that obviously it was Richard Hill and Rob Andrew. There's only 2 people that didn't play. It was myself and David Pearce, but we supported the squad. We were on the bench all the time. But in those days, whether you were aware, there was no substitutions or no blood bin. So unless you were basically injured, that's it. There was only one way of getting on. So that we supported the side. And there's a number of players who have come up to me after and said, I couldn't have done what you did. But I got my chance back in 95, and unfortunately, Jonah Lomas spoiled the party. But,
did you play against him? Sorry, did you play against that guy?
In 95, yeah, we played the
What a performer he was, wasn't he?
He was he was the biggest thing ever to come out of the box at that time. Literally, he was 6'4". He was over 19 stone. He ran 100 metres in 10.7, and he was only ever 80% fit because, unfortunately, of his liver complaint. So he blew us away that day. I don't think we touched the ball for the first. Well, I didn't touch the ball for the first 5 minutes, but it goes down in history for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
But I think the boys who played on Saturday have just ticked that one off and written that one back, and given England a phenomenal performance in a semi-final against New Zealand, blown them away, and they've set up Saturday just superbly against South Africa, which are going to be physical. They're going to come around the corner. They're going to be, they pick 6 forwards on the bench. So basically it's power and power and power. So they've almost got 2 packs of forwards coming on after 50, 60 minutes. But England are likewise with that. They've got the nous. They've got Wilson who comes off the bench. They've got all these guys, Marner that comes off the bench. And it'll take some performance from South Africa to beat England.
Well, Dowie, let's hope we can do it. If I had to press you for a score prediction, what would you go for?
A score prediction, again, finals always tend to really sort of deflate you because they're never great. Trust me, when you've been watching one or been involved on a bench watching, a point will do. But I just think the way England play, and hopefully they'll carry that on, it's not going to be high scoring. I would say something in the regions of 21 points to 15, something like that, or hopefully a little bit less from South Africa, 21 points to 12, something like that.
Well, it sounds okay. We're going to do it, Dowie. Great to
They
speak
won't
to
get double figures against us.
He scared me a bit at the end there, Dowie, but we're still feeling confident.
Have you seen the size of the South Africans? They're big boys, and they'll be keen. But
yeah, too slow.
We know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. Dowie, great to talk to you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you for your time. Dowie Morris there, former England scrum half. I think you make a really good point there, Martin. It's going to be about pace for us, isn't it? It's going to be moving the ball quickly, stretching them, not getting drawn into a kind of slugging match.
Yeah, well, that New Zealand, we just overran them, overpowered them, outpaced them. Awesome performance. Did New Zealand have a lot of injuries or something?
No.
How come they were so poor?
We're just great.
Yeah, I think he was right. And I knew the answer to my question, Johnny. That was a full team that they had out, and we absolutely crushed them.
Martin, do you like sport, mate?
I love sport.
And do you like England?
Johnny, do you know what? Saturday morning, when they come out doing that dance before the game, New Zealand, they were doing that dance, and our boys went into that victory, and some of our players were in their half, and then that Farrell done that smirky look and thinking, you can dance as much as you like, we are coming to get you. And within a minute, we pile-drived over for a try. It was like obvious domination from start to finish. Just awesome. I loved it. But the thing is, Johnny, and I've got to tell you this, just before the rugby, I went out for a walk with the dogs, early morning, bit of fresh air, down by the river, beautiful, came home, and got the rugby on, and I put our black lab, whose name is Dennis, into the kitchen. My wife came down and she said, how come Dennis is in the kitchen and not in here watching the rugby with us? I said, that's obvious. He's got a black kit on. And she said, you what? I said, we can't have anyone in here wearing black. This is England. We're England. And he's got black gear on. She said, don't be so stupid. I said, I ain't being stupid. He's staying in there. He's got a black shirt, black shorts and black socks on. End of. Get the rugby on. And that was it. And we won.
Well, maybe Dennis... Is Dennis now going to be allowed to watch the final on grounds that he's not wearing yellow and green?
Yeah, of course. As if he had yellow and green kit on. He can't sit in the blinking front room watching England play against South Africa, can he?
Well, it's lucky he isn't a golden retriever, or you'd have a problem for the final as well. Coming up, from dogs to tigers.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Can you save money on your energy bills? Tony did, with help from aspokesmansaid.com. Getting people real savings.
I'm Tony from Northampton. My bills for gas and electricity had gone straight through the roof. I chose A Spokesman Said, and they saved me £2,800. It was so easy, I used them for my house and contents insurance too.
For help saving money on your energy bills, go to aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices. When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
This is Love Sport.
Have you had enough of extortionate rises when you renew your insurance? You could be saving big money by switching to a cheaper deal. A spokesmansaid.com compares all the best deals on car and home insurance to find you the one that saves the most cash. Bring down the price of your insurance and stop wasting your hard-earned money. Go to a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
One man who I suspect isn't struggling with his heating bills is Tiger Woods. He is still doing incredible things. He came back initially from that back surgery. He's had another surgery now on his knee, and just 9 weeks later, he is back amongst the PGA Tour wins. He equalled Sam Snead's record of 82 PGA Tour titles last night in Japan. Let's hear from Tiger now.
I've been very fortunate to have had the career I've had so far, and to have won this tournament in Japan. It's just so ironic because I've always been a global player. I've always played all around the world, and to tie the record outside the United States is pretty cool.
Tiger is 43. Snead was 52 when he took that final 82nd win. So if Tiger can keep it ticking along, we could have a record breaker on our hands.
He had some pretty ominous words for his rivals, didn't he? He said, if you would have asked me a few years ago if he could keep playing till he was 52, I would have given you a different answer. But certainly the future looks brighter than it has. So, yeah, 82 PGA Tour titles, quite an incredible achievement. But if you think 9 years younger than Sam Snead was, then there could be a lot more to come. Could be a century on the cards.
Let's be honest. I know it does require physical manoeuvrability, and Woods himself said...
Mate, he's had to have back fusion surgery. You're about to go, but it's still not... He's had back fusion surgery because Tiger Woods changed the way golf was played. He made the golf swing into being a possibility of being an explosive, dynamic thing that it wasn't before.
And as he said, his body can't do what it used to do. But he's not sprinting, is he?
No, he's not, but he is still... Right, you're on the wind-up now. But what I think is, regardless of the physical side of it...
We don't run around, he just walks around, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a little buggy.
Piece of the proverbial. But you've got 82 times to enter a field of probably 100-plus players and beat every single one of them.
No, it's extraordinary. And he's got the highest win percentage in history on the tour.
Up at 22%, more than 1 in 5.
It's very difficult to say best of all time, but I think he's the best of all time.
He's the GOAT. He's not the Tiger.
Better than Jack Nicklaus?
GOAT. Greatest of all time.
When Jack was playing, there wasn't so much competition as what there is now with players right at the top.
Let's look at this list of players with the most PGA Tour wins. You've got Tiger Woods and Sam Snead, obviously tied. They're on 82. Sam Snead won his final PGA Tour title in 1965. So admittedly, that was around the beginning of Jack Nicklaus's time at the top stage. I think he won his first major Nicklaus in 1963. Just below, you've got Ben Hogan, who of course came slightly before the Nicklaus era as well. Then you've got Arnold Palmer. And later down that list, you've got other big names from that era too. I think it's too easy to just say there weren't other great players around. You had Nicklaus, you had Palmer, you had Player.
Hogan,
well, he was a little bit before Nicklaus. But in Player, Palmer and Nicklaus, you had players that between them won 35 major titles. There aren't 3 active players today who come anywhere near that.
Guy, when you say he's got 82 victories, what is the percentage win rate of how he's got those? How many competitions has he gone into to get 82, and how many did Sir Jack get into before he won his
by comparison
68 or 72?
Players with more than 200 starts. Woods has the highest percentage in PGA Tour history, 22.8%. So almost 1 in 4. Almost 1 in 4 competitions he enters, he
wins.
Ben Hogan, 21.3. Byron Nelson, 18.1, and Sam Snead on 14%. So I suspect that means that Jack Nicklaus, who of course didn't win quite as many and played until he was older than Tiger is now, had lower than 14. So Tiger's win percentage is by far and away the best.
Best player of all time, then.
Well, we'll have to see if he
Apart
does
from
it.
Nick Faldo.
Well, let's see if he can get to Jack Nicklaus's record
Do you
of
remember
majors.
Nick Faldo?
Well, he's still around. He's not dead.
Oh, I didn't mean is he dead? Do you remember watching Nick Faldo play?
Not really, no.
Because he changed golf from the American domination. But when he stepped up, he was a remarkable in the major tournaments. He just changed it all as a golf spectator and a golf lover. He was just like a machine going round. Not a great laugh, he don't look like, but what a machine.
I heard
the way
about
he
someone
played.
who once won or paid for in a charity auction a round of golf with Sir Nick. They turned up. He said, "Shall we play match play?" And whoever the fellow was said, "Yeah, all right, let's do that." 10th hole, Faldo's won them all. He's won it 10-8, shakes his hand and walks off. Apparently so.
I saw him at Wentworth last year I saw him at Wentworth. He was just going down the first on the West course, just as I was getting to the first tee. And he was with his son, and they both drove off, and they was walking down. Nick Faldo, oh my God, he's the size of that door. I never knew. He is huge. His shoulders, his body, he's a good 6'3". He was an absolute monster.
Well, I heard once that there's this place, I think it's in Switzerland, it's somewhere in Europe, that measures the lung capacity of top athletes, and it measured a host of athletes. It measured everyone from rowers like Pinsent and Redgrave to golfers to footballers, and Nick Faldo was pretty much off the charts. He was a guy that played golf. You say it's not physical, one of the fittest sportsmen there's ever been, and a physical specimen as well. 6 major titles to go with it, the most of any European player ever. Not a bad record.
No, he's a fantastic player. I'm not sure it'd be great to have a laugh with.
No,
but to watch on that Sunday evening and for the British Open, you knew going into that last day, nerves of steel. Loved him.
Yeah.
But Tiger good.
And first ever event in Japan as well. We're talking to Tom Reed about this in a bit more detail later on. Their first ever PGA Tour event. A little bit sport by the weather. It's been a bit of a theme for Japanese sporting events, hasn't it? But not quite as badly affected as the rugby. They didn't have to cancel whole rounds or whole days, but they did have to postpone. So it finished late last night, our time. It was on at sort of 10, 11 o'clock. But it was meant to finish. That was Monday morning out in Japan. So yeah, not ideal, but I'm sure, given how many golf courses there are, absolutely loads and loads, thousands.
Do you know
of
any
golf courses in
Japanese
Japan.
golfers?
Well, Hideki Matsuyama came second, didn't he?
What about Aoki?
This
You've
is
never heard
going to
of
be
him, have you?
bad, isn't it?
I haven't.
Is
No.
this a joke?
No, he used to play against Nick Faldo.
Oh, right, okay.
Isao Aoki. That's his name. He was good, but never used to win nothing because Nick used to win everything.
Nick won everything. Well, there you go. Not quite as many as Tiger, though, has he?
Where have I pulled that name from? Aoki, from all those years
We're going to have to look it up. Martin Allen names obscure
ago.
golfers.
A-O-K-I.
Isn't it? It's Steve Aoki. He's a DJ, isn't he?
Yeah.
That ain't him.
No, not him.
Ideas
that
for a radio
one plays
show.
the karaoke.
Obscure golfers. Martin Allen.
He's not obscure. He's one of the best in the world.
What was his first name?
Isao.
Right, we'll get onto that. We'll get the QILs.
Johnny's there now with his long fingers tapping it in.
You leave my fingers alone.
Is Martin telling the truth? His name is Isao Aoki.
Well, I can't find him. We're going to do a bit of searching before the end
do
of
it
the
again.
show.
I never even got to tell you about how and whether or not I managed to keep the game results secret, the Saturday morning rugby.
We're going to get that, and we might talk a bit more golf as well, because the greatest golfer of them all, Gareth Bale, has given a very revealing interview this week in which he's told us he doesn't know who the Prime Minister is. That's all right, Gareth. You stick to the football.
Love sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive. And make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
I'm Leslie from North Essex. I couldn't believe that after 5 minutes I'd saved over £900 on my energy bills. When my car insurance was then due for renewal, I went back to a spokesman said and reduced my premium by over £500. I thought that my home insurance was expensive. When I shopped around on a spokesman said, I saved a staggering £1,100. I've saved £2,500. I cannot believe it was that easy.
A spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids. So make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child's up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Lots still to come on Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive. I've just been given a mischievous grin by Martin Allen, who no doubt has plenty of his own for you on the way. We're also going to be talking to expert sports psychologist Amanda Owens. We've heard that this was a psychological masterclass from Eddie Jones. How did he do it? How is he going to gear us up mentally for that Rugby World Cup final on Saturday? And we're also going to chat to Le Grove, iconic Arsenal blogger, who I suspect is not going to pull any punches on Unai Emery. The fan base seems to have turned. Arsenal Twitter certainly lost it over the weekend. Is it curtains for Granit Xhaka? Is it curtains for the gaffer? All that and more, but first, the news.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 5. The EU's agreed a Brexit extension until the end of January, but the United Kingdom could leave before that if a deal is agreed and rubber stamped. The EU's chief Brexit negotiator, Michel Barnier, is pleased.
It was a very short and efficient and constructive meeting, and I am happy that decision has been taken.
Meanwhile, the Labour Party says its MPs will abstain from a vote later on whether to hold a general election in December. Boris Johnson needs a 2/3 majority in the House of Commons to take the country to the polls. Elsewhere, a man's been found guilty of murdering his wife, who's been missing for 20 years. Debbie Griggs was pregnant with her 4th child when she was last seen at her home in Dale in Kent in May 1999. Police have winched down a man hanging from a 90-metre chimney in Cumbria, but say they've seen no signs of life. Specialist equipment's being used at the landmark in Carlisle. Labour MP Keith Vaz is facing a 6-month suspension after he was found to have expressed willingness to purchase cocaine for others. Parliament's Standards Committee said he had committed a very serious breach of the Commons Code of Conduct over an incident in 2016. MPs will now have to vote on whether to enforce the recommended action. Our political correspondent Lewis Goodall says the timing could have ramifications.
If this Parliament does endure and isn't dissolved early, then of course it will have some Brexit implications in the sense that clearly if his suspension is upheld for 6 months, then there will be one less vote in the Labour column, in the Remain column, in the soft Brexit column.
Security officials are stepping up the monitoring of Islamist suspects in Britain. It's understood to be a precaution after the death of the leader of Islamic State in a US military operation. And shares in Virgin Galactic have risen 8% in their market debut in New York. It's the first space tourism company to offer them following the completion of a merger on Friday. That's the latest. I'm Barry Weir.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive.
Good evening. You're listening to the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive. You're with me, Johnny Burrow, Guy Watts, and Love Sport's very own Martin Allen. Your top stories this evening. Granit Xhaka was visited at home by several Arsenal teammates today, the day after the Arsenal captain swore at fans as he was subbed off against Crystal Palace. Saracen scrum half Ben Spencer has joined the England squad as an injury replacement for Willie Hines ahead of Saturday's World Cup final. And Eddie Jones has hit back at Warren Gatland after the Wales coach questioned whether England had already played their World Cup final. Well, when we're talking rugby, I've been having a recurring nightmare, Martin Allen, which is where I go to sleep and it's all very peaceful, and then there's just you there chasing me down the street. You're legging it after me. You've got a West Ham kit on. Absolutely terrifying. Eddie Jones said that New Zealand would have been having a similar experience, except instead of being chased by Martin Allen, they were chased by pressure. The wind-up, the mind games were perfect in the lead-up, right down into the game itself, where we set up in that V shape to face the hacker encroaching into the All Blacks half. He got it right at that point. How can he get it right again ahead of the final? Because we're not the underdogs anymore.
No, well, that's what we're going to ask Amanda. That's where she's coming into it. Amanda Owens. That's the first question, Johnny, I was going to ask her. After what he did last week as the underdog, now it's changed. We're now the favourites against South Africa, who are pretty rubbish. How are we going to beat? What are you laughing at?
They're not rubbish.
They are rubbish.
They're not as good as the All Blacks.
The All Blacks thrashed them. What was the score when the All Blacks...
If we sit here...
When did the All Blacks play them? 3 weeks ago? And
Yeah.
what was the score?
I can't remember.
Guy, what was the score?
23-13.
23 what?
13.
They slaughtered them.
That's not a slaughter.
23-13.
That is not
and
a
we've
slaughter.
absolutely dominated, battered the All Blacks, the greatest team in the world. And how can you say South Africa are any good?
If we go into this final disrespecting South Africa, thinking they're rubbish, we will end up looking silly. And we've got to manage it right tactically. We've got to manage it right on the pitch. We've got to manage it psychologically.
Well, ask Amanda how to do that then, Johnny. It's all right sitting in
That's what
London
I'm doing.
talking about it. What's
doing it.
What's Steady Eddie going to do about it to make it happen?
Well, that is the question. Amanda Owens, sports psychologist, joins us on the line now. Amanda, as you can hear, I'm in a bit of trouble, so thank you for joining us. You were writing about that win against the All Blacks in the Times today. You described it as a psychological masterclass. So what went into making it so impressive?
It was the emotional intelligence of the players. Eddie Jones and the team have been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, ensuring that the players have the right emotions at the right time. And just coming back to your point earlier, I think it's really important that, and I'm sure Eddie and the team, Owen, the captain, will be focusing on this, but it's not going to be an easy game. No game is easy. So mindset this week is going to be critical and crucial. And what goes on behind the scenes, the preparation, the video analysis, the practice training leading up to the game, the final. And, South Africa are a very physical side. They're a tough side to beat. So, as Eddie has said, I think, the fact that the guys, that they were so cohesive and there was a real collective belief. But the one thing that really struck me and I noticed was the composure. And certain players like Sinclair was so composed and wasn't firing hot-headed, and that really showed through. And that's all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. And the players were so focused and knew what they needed to do under pressure. Now that's the key here: is under pressure. So England kept exerting the pressure on New Zealand, and they were relentless. I mean, it was a psychological masterclass on how to win.
And so, Amanda, after that euphoric victory against probably the best team, probably the best team in the world, and the climb as an underdog to beat the big one, now they go in as favourites. What techniques, what drills, what can he do to get those players focused and concentrated to play to the same standard? Because we've all seen it many, many times. After the big one, you can go out there and have complacency and a flat performance after they've peaked. They have peaked on Saturday morning.
No, I think that's a really valid point, and it's a salient point. I don't think that the boys will be complacent. This means a lot to them. However, it's the balance here, the purpose, the focus. The preparation that's going to go in this week is going to be meticulous. Eddie was at the game, the Wales and South Africa game, sort of taken lots and lots of notes. Preparation.
Amanda, it's really fascinating to hear your thoughts on this. We just got a quick problem with the line. We'll get you back in a moment. Amanda Owens there, sports psychologist. It must be tough, Martin, to flip from underdog to dog, if you see what I mean.
Mad dog,
indeed. But all of Eddie's spin about the pressure's going to be chasing New Zealand down the street. If I was a South African, I'd just be going, listen, the pressure's now chasing England down the street. We're rejoined now by Amanda Owens, sports psychologist. Amanda, lovely to have you back. How are England going to handle this kind of favourites tag?
It's another game. It's another situation. So it's about their focus. It's about the mindsets, the role, and the emotions. So I'm coming back to each player regulating the correct emotions for themselves and not get carried away that it's a final. And I'm sure Eddie Jones will be making sure, and Owen Farrell, that the players won't be getting carried away. It's another game, and as Eddie has stated, they're there to be the world's best. So it's not over yet, and it's another game. So that's what the boys need to be focusing on, and their game plan what they each are going to do, and the fact of what they're going to do under pressure. And I think they just need to be relentless. They need to keep their focus and intensity up. And, whatever happens in the game, it's about focusing on what they need to do in the moment.
Amanda, I think what made that performance on Saturday almost more impressive was not that it wasn't expected because we didn't think we could be that good, but because we've had opportunities against teams like New Zealand, big games in the past, in the recent past, and we've not done that well. Thinking back to Scotland and Wales in the Six Nations, either blowing a big lead or not bringing our best game. So what has Eddie Jones done behind the scenes? How has he used different sports psychologists to help, as well as his own work, improve that mental strength, if you like?
He's brought in a lady called Corinne Reid, she was brought in after the Scotland game, whereby we kind of capitulated in the second half. And I really don't believe that we'll see that again. I think Eddie has looked at the team, looked at individual player performances under pressure. The players themselves have conducted honesty sessions and thorough team development here about how they react under pressure. And that means as well about the emotions here. And emotionally, we're all different. So some players, you can see that they get too fired up, or some don't get fired up enough. So it's behind the scenes, there's been a lot of work bringing the team together, honesty sessions, and dealing with what happened in 2015, because clearly that had an impact, as Eddie Jones has stated, on the players, on their performances. And indeed, there was a lot of baggage around that, I think, at which players were a little bit traumatised about, and it did impact their performance.
And in terms of baggage, we are going to have to not focus on previous poor performances against the Springboks in particular. When you're dealing with the psychology of a team, how much of it is related to the weakness of the opposition? Do you talk about that at all, or is it just literally how you are feeling in your own self?
No, one needs to focus on the weaknesses and exploiting those weaknesses. And no team is invincible, as we've seen with New Zealand. Yes, England need to focus on the positives here, but also the fact that, England are very good under pressure now. They are very resilient. And we've had our ups and downs, but professional sport is about how you manage those ups and downs, and certainly the downs. And, since the Scotland game, England have been outstanding. And the last few games in particular, those are the games that England need to focus on, but certainly, definitely focusing on South Africa's weaknesses and analysing those and looking to exploit them and collectively being confident and focused.
Amanda, great to talk to you.
Hold on, Johnny, I just want to ask her one more question, if you don't mind. I would just like your view, Amanda. When that New Zealand team started to do that dance before the game on the pitch.
The haka, yeah.
The what?
The haka.
The haka. When when Eddie Jones got our team to have that V shape, what did you think when you saw that, and what would that have done when the New Zealand players were making all those faces and our players just stood there and fronted them up in that V shape? What would that do?
I think that was that was a stroke of genius to come up with a V sign. I think it's awful, bit sad that perhaps the England team may go fine because we were a little bit too close to the half. But it psychologically had a huge impact. We started the game in the right tone, and as the scoreline showed, we scored a try which they've never conceded a try that fast before. So psychologically, it was a moment of genius by Eddie, the backroom staff, and Owen Farrell.
And when you said there they may have overstepped the mark by going over that halfway line, don't you think they've done that on purpose to say, we're having you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think so, yes. I think it was a psychological, gladiatorial statement, and certainly the V sign was. But I think it clearly had a positive impact on the players and the team, and the players' responses were just superb. And hats off to Eddie and the team, and I'm really excited, looking forward to Saturday, and I really do believe that we can pull this off.
Well, let's hope for another gladiatorial performance at the weekend. Amanda, great to talk to you. Thank you for your time. Amanda Owens there, who is a sports psychologist. What I really want to know, the unanswered secret about Saturday's rugby, is whether our own Guy Watts managed to keep the result a secret. For those of you who weren't tuning in on Friday, Guy told us he was missing the game because he had an 11-a-side football match to attend to. But he had a pact with all of his teammates. You're all going to put your phones on airplane mode, earplugs in, play your own game,
Blindfolds
taxi
on.
straight home, blindfolds on.
Actually improved a lot of our defenders, actually.
Watch the game recorded, but as live. I threatened to text you the result. I didn't, because I'm a merciful God. But did you pull it off?
Sorry. What? A merciful God. We'll have to gloss over that. I like as well that it mattered what number aside game I was playing, and that apparently being 11 aside, it certainly changed Martin's opinion slightly, didn't it? It was like, oh, well, maybe that's okay.
Yeah, because 5 aside, you just buzz in there for an hour, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. You could
11 aside, 90 minutes. What happened? What
right,
happened?
Well, so what happened was, it was quite funny.
Did you win?
I'll get there, Johnny. I'll get
Yeah,
there.
tell your story,
Indulge
man.
me for a moment. Am I under pressure? Probably. So kickoff was 10:30. Had to be there for 9:45 and need to leave my house about 25 minutes, half an hour before. So I was like, I can't not watch the first 10-15 minutes if I'm sitting at home. So I did watch the first 10 minutes, and obviously I saw the first 10 minutes that happened. I was like, oh my God. So excited by it. And actually, if you remember, we probably could and maybe should have scored another try, or certainly had a score early on. Itoje, I think, intercepted, and we got Johnny May in, but he didn't look quite at full pace. Anyway, I digress. So I have to leave about 10-15 minutes in. But one of the guys who wasn't there but did know, he was under strict instruction not to post anything about it on the group, posted a screenshot of a winning bet he'd had, which was England to score a try in the first 10 minutes, or first 20 minutes, sorry. So he posted, winnings, £20 or whatever.
That's
and a couple
so
of people
out
were like,
of order.
Steph, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, lads, I'm so sorry. I thought it was a different group. Pull the other one. He's a Welsh fan, so joke's on him today. So anyway, I leave for the game. We all, put our phones off, literally, radio silence, if you like. We play our game. We did win. I did score, since you ask. And after the game, we literally get as quickly as we can. 2 guys had driven. We only had to go 5 minutes down the road. We get in the cars. I was in the back of one of the cars. I literally had my head down, almost in the brace position. I didn't want to pass a pub and see a load of England fans singing in the street or anything like that. So we literally kept as absolute sort of silence, low profile as we could. We got around to my friend's place, sort of 10, 12 of us piled in, and we watched. And I think one person ruined it for himself. One person either checked the score or knew the score, but the rest of us had absolutely no idea. Obviously, a few of us had seen the first 10, 15 minutes,
That's
but that was
remarkable
it.
you managed to do that.
And it was brilliant, because if it had been a different result, you'd have thought, I could have saved myself 2 hours and not bothered. But to see that and to actually not know what was going to happen, to even mean that when it went 13-7, we gave them that try, you just thought, well, we're outplaying them. We're by far the better team, but sometimes a great side like that, you only need to give them the smallest little incentive, that smallest glimmer of hope, and they will come at you. But no, we responded brilliantly. And
you got a game Saturday?
Happy days. No, we can't. We called that off long in advance. We said if it's the
Good.
World Cup final, no chance.
It was the only wobble, wasn't it? That really silly try.
It
where
was.
The one line out we got wrong, suddenly, bang, 7 points.
We should have nilled them.
We should have done.
Unbelievable.
We genuinely should have done. But that moment, I had exactly that same response, where I was thinking, every logical part of me goes, this doesn't matter, but I am still scared.
That's the thing. Yeah, I wonder what
Why was you
neutrals felt
scared?
like.
Because you just wonder, that was the test.
We've seen them come
of
back
the
so many
psychology,
times.
right? If you're listening to what Amanda said, if you're one of those England players, you would just think, well, they've scored out of nowhere. They're that good.
Mark, we were
Johnny-
31-0 up against Scotland earlier this year.
Johnny,
we drew it.
Totally different. Johnny, they totally dominated from start
They did.
to finish. There was no way at any point, despite one error, that they were going to come back at us.
But
we were far too good. And even the subs that came on, we still dominated them. There was no way that they would come back.
But that is because...
We just gave them those few points to say, well done, boys, for coming.
But the reason why
There
we
was
were
no
able
way
to,
back.
But the reason we were able to do that was the psychology rather of those England players. Because if they had wobbled in the way that I wobbled watching it, we would not have won that game.
No,
the
but
point is Eddie Jones is getting it so right.
Yeah, but you've got to give us some credit to the players here, by the way, and the subs, because when the subs came on, they were also powerful and strong. That we were just far too good for them. Don't matter about having a comeback. There was no chance of them coming back. They couldn't even get anywhere near our line, could they?
They
only
couldn't.
came in our bit 3 times the whole game.
And when you're talking about subs coming off the bench and playing well, I thought proud Englishman Willie Hines did a really good job.
He is a great player, isn't he?
Very English too.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Find out what you need to do to prepare at gov.uk/Brexit.
full of skill, full of flair, full of desire. Fulham FC is full of fire. Oh, what a goal! Be there at Craven Cottage as Fulham continue their surge towards the top of the Sky Bet Championship. Watch the unmissable action live in SW6, home of London's original football club. Absolutely brilliant. Grab your tickets now at fulhamfc.com.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus a stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices.
This is Love Sport.
We always hear that sport shouldn't be political, but so often it is. We saw no El Clasico this weekend, cancelled because of expressly political protests in Catalonia. But some footballers don't seem to care. One of which is Gareth Bale, who there's an eye-opening interview with him in the Daily Telegraph today. And one thing that emerges from it, Martin, is that he is in fact fluent in Spanish. So I must eat my words there. I must apologise to you. I must apologise to Gareth. I must do so in every European language. I was wrong.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that gave it away, Johnny, is the fact that when people were saying all this stuff about him not speaking Spanish, he never responded, and he just stayed quiet, and he just let all this stuff go over his head. If if someone was making those claims against you, you would come back and say, "Oi!" And the fact he stayed silent, I thought it said an awful lot.
You'd say, "Si," but
"Si."
What does that mean? It's yes.
Oh, okay.
But not just the Spanish language Gareth has been quizzed on. I'm going to read you a quote from him now, and I'm just interested to get your thoughts on it. He says, "I don't have anything on my phone, so unless my friends send me something or my agents tell me something I need to know, I don't pay attention. I don't see the need to. So if I said, 'Gareth, what's your view on Brexit?' his agent interrupts and says he could tell you that." Apparently Bale's face said rather otherwise, and Bale then said, "I look in terms of stuff financially because Brexit affects me in a certain way for investments because things change, but I don't read most of the nonsense. I genuinely don't know 99% of Brexit. I don't even know who the Prime Minister is. I haven't got a clue." The interviewer says, "It's Boris Johnson," to which Gareth replies, "Well, there we go. I didn't know that. I thought he was the mayor." He was, of course, the mayor of London 3 years ago. Martin, what's your take on this? Am I being unfair to Gareth? Is it cruel of me to sit here poking him with a stick going, "You moron, how do you not know who the Prime Minister of England is?" Or actually, he lives in Spain, he's a footballer, why should he be clued up?
Why should he be clued up? I'm not sure he's that bothered. Plays golf, plays a bit of football.
But
got a
knowing
golf
who the
course in his
Prime
garden.
Minister is, that's fairly fundamental, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, I've defended him left, right and centre with you, Johnny, always poking him. He seems, and from the people that I've worked with and that I know, that he's a nice guy. He's down to earth, he's humble, he's absolutely minted with money. But he's just kind of a normal, down-to-earth bloke. He hasn't really changed. So when you're giving him daggers all the time and throwing hand grenades in his direction, I just have to shrug my shoulders and say, "Johnny, you're wrong, mate. He's a nice bloke."
I'm not saying he's not a nice bloke. I'm just saying he's not very clued up. Should we expect our footballers to be politically engaged? Should we expect them to think carefully about the world around them?
You'd hope they would be, but nowadays he's living over there. I'm not sure many people are bothered, are they? Who's going to... What is this Brexit stuff? Are we in? Are we out? I know you know all about it.
We're not going to be out for quite a while if today's news is to be believed, which is that the EU have granted us an extension until the 31st of January 2020. That's what the Prime Minister Boris Johnson would have had you believe, but we haven't got it done. To be fair on Gareth, the one occasion in the last decade where we've had a top-level British footballer really try and get involved with politics, it didn't go very well. It was Sol Campbell and his short-lived bid to become Mayor of London. That was absolute carnage. There was an interview where every question he was asked, he had absolutely no idea at all. So maybe Gareth Bale better off just going, listen, I don't dabble. I do not dabble. What I know about is football, and to be fair to him, he does that very, very well. But will he be doing it in Madrid in a couple of years' time? He's been consistently linked with moves back to the Premier League, with moves to China as well. And we're now hearing that his Madrid future is again in doubt. He's flown to London for talks with his agent Jonathan Barnett just 48 hours before a clash with Leganés in La Liga. Are you surprised, Martin, that Zidane has sanctioned this kind of talk in a different country that close to match day?
Yeah, I am. There must be something going on, I reckon. Must be something going on. We've heard reports over the last few days that Manchester United have said no to taking Gareth Bale from Real Madrid, with Pogba going the other way. That Manchester United have turned that deal down because they thought that his ankle wasn't good enough and he's not reliable enough to go and play for Manchester United. So no, I wonder if things are going on behind the scenes, especially when we've just heard that Pogba is out now for until end of December with his ankle injury. I just wonder if there's issues and there's bits and pieces going on that there could be a big turnaround in their clubs.
Would you want Bale around at a top English club? If you were United, if you were Tottenham, would you look at what he can offer and go, yes, please, even at the price?
I think for Manchester United now, he would be a good signing personally. Maybe not to start every game, but in the Champions League final last year, he scored brilliant goals, didn't he?
That was year before, yeah.
Yeah, and the year before. What did he do last year, Guy, in Champions League final? Gareth Bale. Yeah, he got 2 goals. Yeah, he got 2 goals. So I think he could do a job for Manchester United at the moment. But I think Manchester United need more than... They need a few players. You know, he's not just saying one Gareth Bale. There'll be Gareth Bale plus to make them get better. But he would certainly be able to handle Manchester United with some good young players there. And I'm sure it'd also be a good influence on that young Welsh winger, Daniel James.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, actually. But when we're talking about United operating with or without their kind of Galacticos, we got the news they're without Paul Pogba for the next month or so. Is that as much of a blow as it looks on paper?
What paper?
Well, just written down.
I don't think it's a blow in any way, shape or form. Absolutely not.
Well, they missed 2 penalties yesterday. He normally takes them.
Wouldn't care less about that. Not one iota.
Top scorer last season?
Not at the moment, he ain't. Don't want to play for him. Why would you want a bloke in your team in the dressing room that don't want to be playing there? He'd be sitting, look at his watch, playing on his phone, talking to his agent about going to Madrid. Why would you want a player like that playing for Man United when he don't want to play for you? Can't think of anything worse. See you later.
Can you understand players who kind of fall out of love with the game? Because one thing that comes out of that Bale interview is he's asked if he really loves playing football. And he goes, yeah, I like it. I still like it, but the love has got a lot less than it used to be. The pressure is greater. The higher up that pyramid I go, the less I love it. And the thing I really love is golf. Can you see why these guys kind of get disillusioned with the whole thing?
Yeah, definitely. He's been playing probably since he was 7 years old. I had the same. I was playing 3 times a week from 7 years old. Got to 32 and I had to retire through injury when I was captain at Portsmouth. And it is a kind of, in the end, it's a relief. And you've got to remember, Johnny, it is a job. And there's only so many players that can play at the top of the league and be winning every week. And for the ones that are not playing, not in the starting 11, teams near the bottom of the league, getting dogs abuse nowadays from everybody on social media, well, sometimes you think, what, really? Why am I doing this? This is not the footballing career and to be a professional footballer that I wanted when I was a 10-year-old boy. It soon changes, and when you're not playing and you're not in that 11 and you're losing, it's tough.
Do you think, both in terms of players and managers, we as fans kind of underestimate the extent to which there is extreme pressure and how tough that is?
Well, when you say extreme pressure, you have to try and sometimes put that into context. Extreme pressure is, God bless, is when you're at the hospital seeing a heart, cardiologist, or cancer doctors, and thinking that those are extreme pressures when you're going down there to find out if if you're really ill. And nurses and doctors and consultants, and that is real pressure when it's coming to life matters. With football, it's disappointing, it's hard to take, it's upsetting, it's sleepless nights. But people say they're lucky to be doing what they're doing. They get fantastic money, but I can promise you now, some of them don't sleep and they have tough times and they find it difficult to cope. And there are a lot of managers, coaches, players who have a lot of mental problems because it is tough at times. It is tough.
Yeah, you can see where Gareth Bale is coming from. Lots to come right here on Posh Boys, so don't go anywhere.
Love sport. Have you had enough of extortionate energy bills? A spokesman said could help you find the cheapest energy deals on the market. Don't take our word for it. There's hundreds of spokesman said customers who've saved big. Brian from Derbyshire saved £400 on his energy bills, and Tony from Northampton saved a massive £2,800 on his gas and electric. A spokesmansaid.com, the leading price comparison site where you can switch to the cheapest energy tariffs on the market in just minutes.
The spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Henna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
Full of skill. Full of flair. Full of desire. Fulham FC is full of fire.
Oh, what a goal!
Be there at Craven Cottage as Fulham continue their surge towards the top of the Sky Bet Championship. Watch the unmissable action live in SW6, home of London's original football club.
Absolutely brilliant.
Grab your tickets now at fulhamfc.com.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids, so make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
This is Love Sport.
Are you throwing away your hard-earned money on expensive energy bills? Keep the price down when you turn the heating up. You could be saving hundreds by switching to a cheaper deal. A spokesmansaid.com compares all the best deals on the market to find you the one that saves the most cash. Find the cheapest energy tariffs for you. Go to a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
Guy Watts, who's in the Rugby World Cup final?
England, obviously.
Who
yeah.
are they?
Yeah, we are against South Africa, of course, and I do have some headlines for you involving.
Who they're playing?
Yeah.
The Springboks.
Isn't it great they knocked out Wales?
It is great, actually. I'm glad you said that, Martin. I'm glad you said that. I think
I'd
too
have
many
been quite
people are
happy
sort
to
of
have
like,
Wales in there.
oh, it would have been great. It would have been almost more exciting for us here in the Northern Hemisphere, but it's still nice seeing Wales lose. It would have been nice for us to beat them, but I personally, as an England fan, was pleased to see Wales lose.
Yeah, I think it would have been a tougher game for us.
I agree.
Against the Welsh. And I'm not sure the Welsh are too keen on us anyway, are they?
They don't like us much, Martin. As one of my friends put it at the weekend, it is the biggest day for Welsh people of the year when they play England rugby, especially if they win, which is nice, I suppose, but it's a little bit sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas if you win a Rugby World Cup, I think it's legit for that to be the biggest day of the year. But if it's just beating England in a Grand Slam or in a Six Nations rather, you don't even go on and win.
No, and Guy, if you've done a questionnaire, to the Welsh people, how many would be supporting England when we beat South Africa? How many? Yeah. And I don't think there'll be many.
0%, probably.
0%.
Love sports, you and Thomas, Will. I promise you that.
He'll support England, will he?
Yeah.
Oh, good on him.
Definitely.
Fair play. Well done, you.
Okay, 1%. Well done, Johnny.
Yeah, because there are only 100 Welsh people anyway, aren't there? Do you remember that World Cup final that Wales were in?
Vaguely.
Tell us about it.
I can't, mate. I've never been in one. Anyway, your sports headlines this afternoon. Saracen scrum half Ben Spencer has joined up with England's rugby squad in Japan, and he's now likely to feature in the World Cup final that, of course, we are in this Saturday against South Africa. He's a replacement for Willie Hines, who suffered a hamstring injury in Saturday's win over New Zealand in the last four. Head coach Eddie Jones is confident that Spencer's the best choice to provide backup to Ben Youngs. And how about this for a story? There's going to be a special guest in the camp this week as well. Tom Curry's twin brother Ben, who also plays for Sale, has flown out to join the England squad ahead of Saturday's final. That's after a social media campaign was launched with the hashtag #GetBenToJapan. And the current longest-serving football manager in the Football League, Jim Bentley, has resigned as Morecambe boss. He'd been in charge of the League Two club since May 2011, having played for them as captain. It's expected that Bentley will take up a new role with National League side AFC Fylde. And weather-wise, a dry night for most with clear spells and variable cloud. Cloudy again in the southwest with rain edging in for a spell. Tomorrow, high pressure will remain around, leading to a fine and dry day with sunny spells for most. Another nice day to look forward to with highs of around 11 degrees. Cloudy with some rain in the far southwest. That's the latest for you here on Love Sport Drive.
Thanks, Guy. I love a bit of twin support from the Currents. Just going out there.
Anything you can relate to, Johnny?
Yeah, up to a point.
Do you know a twin?
Speaking as a twin. It's quite nice. I think it's good for them that they are of a comparable sporting ability.
I was going to say comparable age. I thought
I don't agree with it.
What, you think it's a distraction?
I shouldn't be doing it for me.
Why not? He's watching the game. He's going out to see his brother.
It's not an holiday camp. It's a training camp.
But
focus on the game. Why didn't he go before the All Blacks? Because everything was on the big performance. I don't think you should be breaking the routines and the training programs and coming in, let's have a chat. It's my brother. What? Wait till after, mate. See you next week.
Is there not an element then of us kind of underestimating the Springboks? You earlier were saying, listen, this is going to be an easy game. We're going to walk over them. They got beaten by the All Blacks. We beat them. It's going to be a battering.
Be totally focused on your job. What are you bringing your brother over for? Get him over to watch a
match.
Rugby
Eddie Jones is not going to let him come and be part of the training sessions like he's a kid who's won a half-term treat, is he? Let's be honest. He's not going to be there, getting involved and messing up the drills because he's not been part of it for the last month. He's going to maybe pop into the hotel, say hello to Tom before a training session. They'll go out for a meal, maybe with a couple of their mates in one of the evenings, not go and get bladdered or anything like that. They'll literally see each other. It's a morale boost for Tom, maybe a couple of the other players in the squad. It's not like he's going to be taking him out on the town.
Not having it. No.
On a sushi binge. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Sushi binge.
Not having it. Not having it.
But is there not an argument that by having...
Hold on. And what about Vinipola's brother? Is he coming over from New Zealand? Because I ain't seen him for a few weeks and he's coming up to watch the final, so we'll all go out together and we'll go for a bit of shark. What?
What's another one? In the team.
What's another one? Yeah, we've got four brothers. My mate's coming over. I ain't seen my mate for 15 years, and my dad wants to come over. Can he come to the hotel? Shall we go round the corner and have sushi bar? No. Concentrate on your job and focus on your job, and after Saturday you can do what you want with your medal and a world champion. Up until that point, stay on it.
Is there not an argument?
No.
That their performances could be improved by being allowed to unwind, by seeing their loved ones.
There's no time to unwind. What are you talking about unwinding?
Well, it's got to be time
We've got the World Cup final. What are we going to unwind?
Here's a quote.
Did you think we unwinded before we played New Zealand?
Yeah, I suspect
with
we did.
that tempo and that energy.
You think the players were at that level, intensity all week?
Yes.
Even when they weren't training?
110%, no doubt, yes. The planning and preparation going into that game to have all those little bits and pieces put in place. Oh my God, 110% definite yes.
Martin.
No, zero distraction.
Who won the Football World Cup final in 2006?
Not a clue, tell me.
Italy. Who started in central midfield for Italy? Andrea Pirlo, one of the greatest central midfielders to ever play the game. Here is a quote from Andrea Pirlo's autobiography. I don't feel pressure. I spent the afternoon of July 9th, 2006 playing PlayStation. I went out that night and I won the World Cup. Is there not something to be said for taking your mind off it?
It's totally different.
Why? It's a World Cup final.
No, John, it's totally different. It's nothing. That's got nothing to do with Pearl. They'll all be sitting in their rooms playing those games. It's got nothing to do with it.
But that's relaxing.
Oh, Johnny, give it a break. Listen, it's totally different. The energy put into that game by those rugby players, that physical, mental confrontation to overpower New Zealand and overwhelm them. That has not come from sitting chatting with your auntie and your uncle and your brother coming over for a curry. What the hell are you doing? Concentrate on your job. It's for that to do what they do at that level, that is tough what they did. That was unbelievable what they did on Saturday morning. You don't get that from sitting around chilling out. They might sit and play cards. They might sit and play PlayStations. They probably do in their little groups. But when it comes to the performance, you don't have anything that's going to detract from that fierce mentality of being world champion. When we're talking to Amanda earlier about the psychology of performance, you don't dilute, you stay focused, you stay hungry, and you don't change anything.
Well, Martin Allen not having any of it. One thing I know you were rather more keen on was England's approach to the haka on Saturday morning. For anyone who still hasn't seen this, we responded to it with a V shape. The entire team standing in a V.
Who hasn't seen it?
Some people won't have done, which encroached into their half. Now, from an England perspective, we were all watching it going, yes, please, wind them up, show them you're not scared, show them that you're up for a scrap. I have absolutely no doubt at all it played a part in that win. Other people less impressed. France, of course, were famously fined £2,500 for walking up to the haka and getting right in the All Blacks' faces in the 2011 final. That is on grounds that they breached a cultural ritual protocol. Now, this is why it's slightly more complicated than I think we in England think, because it's rooted in various elements of Maori culture and tradition. It's not just a dance, right? There will be people in that New Zealand team for whom it's of religious importance. So did we do something drastically disrespectful by standing in a V?
We didn't tickle them or poke them or anything, did we? We just sort of stood in a different shape. I think teams should do it more. I don't think it's coincidence that the last time New Zealand lost a World Cup game, October the 5th, 2007, the most famous example of a team responding to the haka ever, France, of course, in Cardiff, sort of approached the halfway line. They did it together. They linked arms and they like moved up together. It's, you know, your hairs on the back of your neck sort of territory. And sure enough, France came out and they beat New Zealand. And then in the 2011 final, okay, New Zealand won that day, but they won by a single point. New Zealand were rattled. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to say they don't particularly like it if you do something to it. And no one denies that you have a right to respond in some way. Don't go up to them and try and kick him where you
don't turn your back on them. You wouldn't turn your back on them, no. I agree 100% with you, Guy, but I'm probably going to go further than that. I don't see why they should be allowed to do it anyway.
You don't think you should?
No, why can't we get a dance and start doing it?
I think we probably could if we said, look, we have this thing that's part of our culture.
We
and
could play green sleeves.
What's green sleeves?
It's the old sort of Henry VIII style tune. Supposedly composed by
What's that got to do with rugby?
Here it is. How did you get that fast? That is absurdly quick. Do you have that
Did
on
you two
speed
arrange
dial?
that?
No. How did you do that?
Oh, Johnny, I can't tell you. I'd have to kill you. But we could dance to this, couldn't we?
Yeah, why have you got green sleeves programmed into the Love Sport system?
It's my crystal ball, Johnny.
Were you having a house party here on Saturday night, just rocking out to a bit of lute music?
It'd be quite a playlist, wouldn't it? Bit of Chelsea Dagger, green sleeves, and
Anyway,
swing low.
Could we say swing low is a kind of cultural...
We could probably argue it, but I think the point is, what you see when the New Zealanders do it is, I think, a genuine emotion to it, and I think it means something
passion,
to all
Guy,
of them.
don't they?
It's passion, exactly. And I think it gives them something before the game, and that is where I've felt in the past it is a slight unfair advantage. But I think we saw England do the perfect thing, which was not make too much of a statement, but do something to respond to it, to say, yes, we acknowledge it, we are welcoming that, but we are equal to this challenge. And I think every team should think about coming up with their own response to it, to mean that they're not, if you like, a step behind before the whistle's even gone, which I think happens so often. Look at Ireland the week before, 30-0 down by half-time.
Yeah, and the other bit I did like, I think we mentioned it earlier, Guy, is the fact that the top of the V,
the tip of it,
the tips of the V, some of our players
in their half.
were in their half, and the referee tried to usher them back and tapped them on the shoulder and said, "Oi, move!"
And they didn't.
And they didn't. They stood their ground, and they were like encroaching.
They were. I think you have to probably have a line somewhere, and that was the halfway line where you're not allowed to encroach beyond. But if you put it this way, that we might get fined a few £1,000 for a place in the World Cup final. You know, if they want to be petty enough to actually bother fining us, fine. We'll pay for it out of our winnings. How about that?
Yeah, I just thought all those things oozed arrogance.
No, confidence.
Stroke confidence. Whichever way you want to put it, which one, some people don't like arrogance, but when you're at that level, you've got to be arrogant. I mean, the way Farrell stood there with that smirk on his face and his arms were crossed looking at him thinking, you can dance as much as you like, it's not going to affect me. And as soon as that whistle goes, we are going to get you. And we did.
I think that smirk will kind of go down in history as the ultimate defiant response to a hacker to the All Blacks, given the performance that followed.
Absolutely. It was real leadership. No fear. Very similar to Eddie all week. No fear. Just you wait and see. It was the look of just you wait. And when we started, we changed the kickoff, didn't we?
We did, yeah. George Ford looked shaped to kick it, go right, and then at the last moment he said to Nigel Owens, "Oh, by the way, I'm not actually kicking it." Flipped it to Farrell, kick off the other way. Straight away, we've had a little advantage. A few seconds later, Tom Curry is putting in the first of many monstrous hits. A bit of leadership you mentioned there from Owen Farrell. I think nearly any captain in the world could probably learn from Owen Farrell. He really has matured into quite the leader, quite the captain. Maybe Granit Xhaka should take a lesson from him.
Is he fit, that Farrell?
Dead leg. Looks like he's going to be.
Okay,
he should be fine.
good.
And Johnny May. Willie Hines, of course, out. Ben Spencer replacing him. But yeah, we are going to talk a little bit more about Granit Xhaka, of course. Booed, cheered off almost, ripped his shirt off as he came off yesterday. Carnage with Granit Xhaka, with Unai Emery at the Emirates. We're going to be talking a bit more about that with Le Grove, the Arsenal blogger, in just a moment's time.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Henna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
You're in?
No.
Are you paying way too much for your energy bills? A spokesman said could help you save big money. With electricity costs continuing to rise, you could save hundreds of pounds by shopping around. Just go to aspokesmansaid.com and look for the very best value energy deals on the market. Don't waste your hard-earned cash. You could be on a much cheaper deal. Go to aspokesmansaid.com.
Fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices. When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids, so make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child's up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
Love sport.
Granit Xhaka is not a particularly popular man in the red half of North London today. We're hearing his teammates are still very much on his side, with 3 senior Arsenal players going to his house just to check up on him. The fans, I suspect, may be a little less merciful. We're joined on the line now by one of them. Le Grove is an Arsenal blogger. Good evening. What's your take on that Xhaka behaviour? As you watched him walking off in the Emirates, how did you feel?
Just very disappointed, but not surprised. I think Granit Xhaka, at the core of this whole situation, Granit Xhaka should never have been made Arsenal captain. I think that you can look at this as an isolated incident, or you can look at it over the last 3 seasons. He's just simply not good enough to be captain, and the fans feel that. Consistent underperformance hasn't helped him, but I think to watch a captain walk off, cup his ear, and then tell the fans to F off twice, it's just very disappointing. But it's not surprising. He threw his strikers under the bus after making a mistake against Spurs earlier in the season. When we had a dismal result against Watford, he went to the media and said that the team was scared. So to cap it off yesterday, another disgraceful example of why he shouldn't be the man with the armband.
There are some fans on Twitter saying, listen, Xhaka's behaviour was disgraceful. He shouldn't just be stripped of the captaincy. He should leave the club. There are other fans saying, what do you expect? Arsenal fans constantly give him grief on social media. He had 60,000 people jeering at him. How could he not have reacted? What would you say to those supporters?
I'd say that the fans at Real Madrid have booed Cristiano Ronaldo in the past. He didn't walk off cupping his ear, telling them where to go. When you play at the highest level and you don't perform, and fans are spending their hard-earned cash every week to sit in the cold and watch you make consistent mistakes. Like if you don't perform, that's top level sport, I'm afraid. I don't like it. I don't boo myself, but I can understand the feelings in the stadium. I've been there before. Like he's simply not good enough to be Arsenal captain. I don't think that it's going to end his career. I don't think it's going to change the captaincy issue. I think he's going to have to come out and apologise at the weekend, and then he'll just continue to stink out the midfield for the rest of the season. But this could have all been avoided. Emery didn't have to make Granit Xhaka captain. The fact that he delayed it to September means that he knew it was going to go down badly with the fans. And I also think Emery subbing off his most important player on the pitch on 60 minutes, like that's not a helping hand from the manager, especially 3-4 weeks after announcing it. So there's a lot of things at play here at the moment.
And if he did apologise and gave a full apology, and it showed in his interview a genuine error in his ways, do you think the Arsenal fans would forgive and give him a break to come back into that team? Because he does give you something, doesn't he, in that team?
I think that the reality of Granit Xhaka is that he is a tactical weakness that lesser teams exploit time and time again.
What do you mean by tactical weakness? What's that?
He's slow. He's cumbersome. He doesn't perform well under a press, and he makes mistakes under pressure. So teams target him at the base of our midfield because they know he's not going to be in position, and they know if he gets ruffled, he fails. So teams come, they pick on the weakest link in the midfield, and it more often than not is a fruitful avenue for them. So at the heart of it, you've got a player who's not really built for the Premier League as the captain of Arsenal. So sure, there will be forgiveness, but the reality is he went off the pitch, and then Arsenal started to play better. Same happened the week before. Like when Xhaka isn't in the team, Arsenal are are better. And I think until Emery realises that, when there are bad games and he gets sent off or he does stuff like that, he's going to get stick.
Well, one man who's rather more popular with the Arsenal fans is Alexandre Lacazette, but he's got himself in a spot of hot water as well, liking a post from a member of Arsenal Fan TV, which shows him appearing to make a rather rude gesture towards the camera, calling in the caption, more importantly, for Xhaka to leave the club, for Unai Emery to leave the club as well. Lacazette has since unliked the post, and it is possible that he didn't see the caption and just liked the picture of a fan swearing at the camera, but it doesn't look good however you try and spin it. What's your take on that?
Well, you never know who's running these social media accounts.
Are you Rebecca Vardy?
Well, I work in advertising, and we work with sports teams before. Like, there's usually a team that sits behind it, so you don't know where the like has come from. But I don't think it's too much for reach to suggest that there's a division in the camp at the moment. I would imagine it's more likely aimed at Unai Emery than Granit Xhaka, because the manager is struggling. I think the Xhaka issue has kind of taken the attention away from the manager a little bit, but reality is all of these problems that are happening at Arsenal at the moment in some way revolve around Unai Emery. He's disappointing start to a season or continuation of the 2018 season. So, like, it's not great when players do divisive things. The deeper thing for me is that Emery doesn't have control of the squad. You didn't really get this under Arsene Wenger, even in his worst season. We never had a captain running off the pitch, cupping his ears. And look, there were players that were booed during Wenger's tenure. Emmanuel Boué was disgracefully booed by Arsenal fans after coming on 70 and then getting subbed off a little bit later. And he didn't react that badly, and he certainly wasn't the captain of Arsenal.
And all those Arsenal fans, they're probably the same ones that all wanted Arsene Wenger out, aren't they? Because they were all shouting for him to go and all.
Yeah, and look, the decision to get rid of Arsene Wenger is not in doubt. It was the correct decision. Replacing him with somebody that doesn't know how to fix the defence and couldn't speak English wasn't a good decision. It was clear at the time it wasn't a good decision, and it's disappointing to hear that Josh Kroenke was entertaining the idea of giving a poor manager a new deal this summer. So I don't know where the end is in sight for Emery, but it's this is just the start. It's going to get a lot worse, and we're yet to find rock bottom, but I fear that it's coming.
Yeah, he can't be a bad manager though, can he? Because he won 3 consecutive Europa Leagues, didn't he? I would think.
I think that you can be an average manager in the elite echelon of managers.
Really? To win three Europa Leagues, to win 3 consecutive, average.
I think we're seeing it on the pitch. He got kicked out of PSG after winning the league title. Fell out with all of the players.
Did he win the league?
Couldn't build a defence.
He did actually lose a 2-horse race to Monaco, so it wasn't perfect domestically. Le Grove,
and it didn't.
Great to talk to you. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Le Grove there, who is an Arsenal blogger. Lots to come on Unai. I want to get into this language stuff because, frankly, I'm not having it. Lots more to come right here on Posh Boys on Drive.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses in many ways, particularly if you buy from EU suppliers, sell to EU customers, provide services to EU clients, and receive customer data from other businesses in the EU. Businesses need to prepare. Find out how at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Don't get caught out in the great energy price hike as large firms look to charge you more. If you want to save money on your energy bills, it's not too late to see what's on the market. With rising gas and electricity bills, don't get caught out wasting your money on expensive tariffs. A Spokesman Said will show you the very best value deals available. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could be using your savings to put towards a well-earned holiday.
With aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities, Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
Lots to come on Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive. We're going to be talking to Tommy Smith, former QPR, Brentford and Watford winger. We've got that big derby tonight in the Championship. It's Brentford, QPR. Love Sport's very own Martin Allen knows all about it. We'll be getting our teeth into that. And we're also talking to Tom Reed, a golfing expert. Tiger is the record equaler, and he did it in Japan. Could we be seeing more of that from golf in the near future? We'll also be talking more on Unai Emery, finding out what's coming up after 7. But first of all, it's time for the news.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 6, MPs are preparing to vote on whether there should be a pre-Christmas general election. After EU leaders earlier agreed a Brexit delay of up to 3 months, Boris Johnson now wants us to go to the polls on the 12th of December.
I simply do not believe that this House is capable of delivering on the priorities of the people, whether that means Brexit or anything else.
He'll need 2/3 of MPs to back him, but that looks unlikely, with Labour members abstaining. Leader Jeremy Corbyn says he's doing so because he doesn't trust the Prime Minister. A man whose pregnant wife vanished 20 years ago has been convicted of her murder. A court heard Andrew Griggs disposed of Debbie's body and dumped her streets away from her home in Dale in Kent in 1999. A man trapped at the top of a 90-metre tower in Cumbria has been confirmed dead by police.
Paramedics pronounced the man in his 50s and from Carlisle deceased at the scene at 16:46 hours. All agencies worked as quickly as possible to try to rescue the man.
Superintendent Matt Kennerley updated reporters after crews winched the man down from Dixon's Chimney, a former cotton mill tower. Specialist equipment and a helicopter had been brought in to help after officers were called in the early hours of this morning. Police say there will be a full investigation. UK security officials are stepping up checks on high-priority Islamist suspects in Britain. It follows the death of the leader of Islamic State, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, at the weekend in a US military operation. One of the killers of soldier Lee Rigby has pleaded guilty to punching a nurse at Broadmoor Hospital last year. Michael Adeboale has been given an 8-month sentence to be served after his 45-year minimum term for the murder of the Fusilier back in 2013. And a UK ticket holder who claimed the biggest ever Euro Millions jackpot has been paid their winnings. Nearly 3 weeks after the draw, they walk away with £170 million. That's the latest. I'm Barry Weir.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive.
Good evening. It's the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive. I think we've got a bit of unfinished business on Granit Xhaka. We're going to be returning to him very, very shortly. Here are today's top stories. Granit Xhaka was visited at home by several Arsenal teammates today, the day after the Arsenal captain swore at fans as he was subbed off against Crystal Palace. Saracens scrum half Ben Spencer has joined the England squad as an injury replacement for Willie Hines ahead of Saturday's World Cup final. And Eddie Jones has hit back at Warren Gatland after the Wales coach questioned whether England had already played their World Cup final. This is Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive, where things got a bit feisty a moment ago, talking about Granit Xhaka, talking about Unai Emery, as they should. I'm of the opinion that Granit Xhaka is a silly, silly boy. Because if you're just joining us and you haven't seen this, he was substituted against Crystal Palace on around the hour mark. His substitution was cheered. He then cupped his ears at the Arsenal fans, appeared to swear at them, took his shirt off, took his armband off, straight down the tunnel. He is not flavour of the month. There are calls for him to lose the captaincy. There are calls for him to be fined, calls for him to be sold as well. But there are some Arsenal fans saying, well, look at the way most of the Arsenal fan base have treated Xhaka in the past. Are you surprised he reacted like that?
I don't think the paying public pay a lot of money to go and watch football, and they're entitled to their opinion, and they can shout, they can boo, and that's what they pay for. It's part and parcel of the job. And I think his reaction, having seen it numerous times this afternoon, is totally out of order. He's going to have to do a lot of work if he wants to stay at Arsenal and play for this great football club, the Arsenal. Then he has got an awful lot of work to do with a proper apology and a sincere apology, and then to keep his mouth shut and get on with getting on over that white line and doing himself justice. I'm sure today he'll be very, very disappointed in himself and frustrated, and he's probably thinking it's probably time for me to be leaving and getting away from Arsenal in January, because that is not acceptable, that behaviour.
Peter Crouch said on Match of the Day 2 last night, he said, and I just thought he almost couldn't help himself but to say it, because he knew it wasn't going to be a popular thing to say with Arsenal supporters, for example, or maybe even other club supporters. I don't support Arsenal. I look at that and I think, what are you doing, mate? You're embarrassing yourself. You're bringing the club a little bit lower down in other people's estimations when it's already fairly low, given some of the sort of drama that you've got going on there at the moment. But he said, it is the worst thing in the world, having your own fans boo you. As a footballer, it's the worst thing, having your own fans boo you. And you can look at it the other way, can't you, and say, for the home team's fans, 50, 60,000 of them, potentially as many as that, to boo a newly appointed captain as well, and on an official basis, a month, 2 months into the job, when your team are drawing at home to Crystal Palace. Okay, he didn't help them when they were giving away that 2-goal lead, but it wasn't like they were both his fault, the goals they conceded either. He would have every right to feel, what the hell's going on? What's this? I'm a player for this club. I'm the captain.
Guy, I'm not sure it's got anything to do with the captain. When he's out in the middle of that pitch, and his number went up on that board from the fourth official on 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Getting substituted after 60 minutes is also a bit of a, blimey. You know what I mean?
The manager's putting two fingers out to his house.
He's making a message. He's sending a message out to him, because normally that substitution, you do about 75, 80 minutes if you need to protect your goal when you're winning, or if you need a goal, you put on some attacking players, 75 minutes, 70, 75, around that little patch.
Yeah.
So he'd have been particularly disappointed to come off, and then the fans doing that to him. And it looks to me, he's been picked by the other players. And I think you told a story today that 3 players have been around his house today.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And then we've seen pictures also of Torreira upset.
Almost tearful.
That he was getting that abuse from the supporters. And he looks like a man that would be a bit of a warrior. Some of his tackles have been mistimed. At times he looks like he lacks that final yard to time his tackles around the box, because he's given away some rash challenges and fouls and I think penalties.
Yeah.
So he has got that going against him, but he does look to me to be a wholehearted, honest type of player. He would have been hurting as he walked off that pitch, and when he went down that tunnel, he'd have probably got in the shower and he'd have probably wanted to get his gear on, get in his car and get away from that stadium as quick as possible.
There are suggestions he did that, by the way.
Yeah, and he'd have been really, really hurt. It's not something that now he'll be proud of, and I'll tell what, I have also been in that same position. I've had it for 27,000 people at West Ham that booed me when I wasn't playing well. I've had 12, 14,000 when I was 19 years old at QPR booing me. And when you come off that pitch and your own fans have turned on you, oh my God, it's the worst feeling. And I got home and you're upset, you cry, you wonder if you've got a future, you wonder if you can turn it round. And he'll need good people around him now. He will need proper good people, because he's done wrong, but he ain't punched anybody. He ain't it's bad.
You can recover.
Done.
You can recover from
You
this, right?
Let's
talk about other examples of it. I mentioned earlier, didn't I? Carlos Tevez in the 2011-12 season, he refused to warm up when Roberto Mancini told him to warm up. It was a Champions League game, I think, against Bayern Munich. Mancini was livid. He said in the post-match press conference, he said he will not play for this club again. I was rubbing my hands with glee. Not only had Tevez left United to go to City, but he was at risk of helping them to win the league title. What happens? He disappears for months. He's in Argentina playing golf for half the season. By April, he's back in the team, playing brilliantly with Sergio Aguero, and in May, Man City lift the title after beating QPR, of course, on that famous day. So it's been done. And also, I was thinking, when you're saying all that, Wayne Rooney, 9 years ago, England draw 0-0 with Algeria at the 2010 World Cup.
Done it at Wembley.
Nice to see your home fans booing you. And it went down terribly. And it should have done, because there he was, of course, lavishly paid, hugely heralded, talked up along with the rest of the team as a potential World Cup winner that year. We were among the favourites that year, and we were atrocious. We drew with the USA, we drew with Algeria as well. And then a few years later, Wayne Rooney, people were chanting his name as he broke the England goal-scoring record. It can be done.
It can be done. And didn't Wayne do something on the pitch as well? Didn't he refuse to clap him, or there was something out on the pitch that he did whilst playing for England? When he was when they lost the game or something, or he shook his head and shook. So it can be done. Do you remember that, Johnny?
Yeah, it does ring a bell. Was it even Iceland? Was there something?
I can't remember. But he certainly had moments where the moment got to him, and I think that's what happened with Xhaka, right? He probably got off the pitch, and yes, he'll be disappointed. He'll probably be embarrassed, I think, as well, because I think if he had that moment again, I hope anyway, he'd do it differently.
I'm not sure I'd use that word. I would say hurt.
I think he'll be embarrassed as well.
He would be hurting inside, hurting that all his fans, all the fans of Arsenal have turned on him, and he will feel isolated, lonely. And I really do hope, if you can get your head around this, I hope he's got good people around him that support him, look after him, because we spoke last week about mental health issues in sport, and it was I think it was Mental Health Day on one of the days last week when we were in with you, Guy. I hope he's got good people around him that can look after him, support him, and help him get back to where he needs to be.
Well, I hope that is the case. It looks like it is with Lucas Torreira's response and the news that 3 of his mates have at least gone round. It's a good effort from the other Arsenal players. I actually think Guy has a point where you're spot on to say he'll be hurt and upset and all of that. I think embarrassment will be a big factor here as well. And I think it will be the embarrassment that has stopped him from apologising so far.
It's pride, isn't it? It's pride.
It's pride. We've all done it. He has done it on a spectacular scale, right? On the telly in a stadium full of 60,000 people. But what he's basically done is he is the bloke at the house party who's had a couple of beers, has taken a joke badly, has kicked off, told all of his mates exactly what he thinks of them. Don't smirk, you've done it. I've done it many times. You shout effing blind at everybody.
You storm
off. And then you sit down, you start to calm down, you think, hang on a minute.
Made a big mistake.
I don't hate him. He's not actually fat. She's not actually like that. Oh, what have I done? And there is an element of that where Granit Xhaka knows he's a good player and he knows he's a good man. He will be sitting there and he will be hurt, but he'll also be going, Granit, you moron.
Martin, if you can.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
I want you to talk to us about the manager's role in this, though, because it's, Le Grove, the blogger, a minute ago said it's sort of distracted from the Emery thing, and it has in a way, but I think it's wrong if it has, because I think he has a crucial part to play in all this, and it goes back to what you said about where this incident started. The manager who made him captain, yes, he was voted further by the players, but he was already the captain. He was already the one wearing the armband. And Arsenal fans were saying, well, why is Emery trusting? Why does he rate him so much? Why is he the captain? It so happened that the players backed him up. Fair play, but he was Emery's man before that as well. And so the manager has then hooked him. Of any of the 10 outfield players on the pitch, he's the one almost scapegoated. And all the while, Emery knows the pressure's growing on him. Has he almost deliberately picked Granit Xhaka there, possibly knowing there'd be a reaction, or at least knowing there'd be a talking point about the fact that his captain's underperforming and having to be taken off early? And is it therefore a bit of weak management from Unai Emery as well?
The score at the time, I think, Guy, was 2-2. Who did he put on? Willock.
He brought on Saka.
He brought in Saka. So he's taken off what would be classed as a holding midfield player and put on a centre forward. So at 2-2 at home, that would be a standard move. Fair comment?
Yeah.
But he will be hurt and he will be disappointed that the manager's taken him off, because he's a proper bloke. He's not some lightweight that just flits around on the wing. And he's been voted in to be the captain. So he must have those characteristics, that kind of personality. And he's got nuts. You can see that the way he's walked off the game. He has got nuts, that guy.
Ian Wright's analysis, I thought, was good last night. And it showed several times. It was showing him not wanting the ball. He's a holding midfield player, or the deeper of the midfield players, compared to whoever's the attacking midfielder, of a team that are trying to play it out from the back, largely. You know, we saw Petr Cech almost scoring own goals last season. They were so committed to that.
So going back to your question...
why is he not showing for the defenders?
So going back to your question, has Unai Emery been shown weak management? I don't think he's shown weak management. I think he's shown good management by taking off a holding midfield player that's not getting touches of the ball, that's not in the middle of the pitch demanding the ball. And so he's probably shown the right thing to do was to take him off. And as the player came off, Emery stood out in the technical area and put his arm out to acknowledge his player coming off. And I've got to say, I think I made a few years ago a rule for when I did that and I substitute a player, and I told all my squad right at the beginning, when you come off, you'll come off and go to the bench. You're never going to be happy with me, and I am not going to shake your hand. You just go and sit back down and I'll speak to you afterwards. But I'm not going to put myself into that situation.
Because you risk a situation, don't you? Like yesterday, or even like you mentioned this earlier, Jordan Henderson and Jurgen Klopp. They're hugging and kissing yesterday. It wasn't the same 6 months ago. I can't remember the game. Henderson came off. I think they were drawing, needed a win.
Didn't shake his hand.
He was like shouting at Jurgen Klopp.
Exactly.
I thought, blimey, that's a risk. And I think he apologised. And obviously they're happy families again now. But it can happen in the heat of the moment, can't it? But until we hear that apology, I suppose, from Granit Xhaka, it is going to continue being a story, isn't it? Because you've got...
Well, I hope Arsenal Football Club have contacted him today. And I hope there's been some sort of interaction either by phone or the manager going to his house and saying, this is the situation, we're unhappy, we're disappointed, are you okay as well?
Yeah.
Because you've got to look after him as a person. We all forget these are... I know they earn a lot of money. Forget all that. Forget he's got a fantastic car. They're still people. You know, we've seen the Lennon, the Everton winger, now at Burnley. He was earning XYZ thousands per week, and he had some mental health problems. I don't want to see any of that happen with any of these players, no matter how much they earn. So most importantly today, my concern would be, I hope that player's okay, and I hope he's being well looked after, and I hope the manager has gone over to him. Forget all the other stuff about what happened on the pitch, about putting his arms up. There's many, many more things worse than that he could do. Sort it out with him. Get an apology up on the Arsenal website as quickly as possible. Deal with it.
Well, what are they waiting for then?
And move on.
24 hours ago.
What they're waiting for, well...
That's what worries me a little bit. That's what makes me think, if there was going to be one, why isn't there one?
If he doesn't
What day is it today?
Monday.
Well, we've got plenty of time. Next couple of days, something may come up.
Game against Liverpool Wednesday.
He has got
Game
to
Wednesday.
apologise.
Carabao Cup, 4th round.
The longer he leaves that apology, the worse.
Doesn't
it
get
is.
any
I
better.
can see what you're saying.
He's got
But
to
you can see where I'm coming from.
I completely see where you're coming from, and I actually completely see why Granit Xhaka did it. I completely see why you'd still be angry and why you wouldn't want to apologise. But if he cares at all about his career at Arsenal Football Club, if he cares at all about the opinion of the supporters, he's got to apologise, and he's got to do it now.
Now!
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Find out what you need to do to prepare at gov.uk/Brexit.
Full of skill, full of flair, full of desire. Fulham FC is full of fire.
Oh, what a goal!
Be there at Craven Cottage as Fulham continue their surge towards the top of the Sky Bet Championship. Watch the unmissable action live in SW6, home of London's original football club.
Absolutely brilliant.
Grab your tickets now at fulhamfc.com.
Don't get caught out by rising energy bills this year. Leading price comparison site A Spokesman Said can help you save money in just minutes. Plus, sign up to A Spokesman Said to get the latest super cheap collective energy deals. These offers are such great value, they aren't even available direct from the energy companies. Savvy customers have saved over £10 million from collective energy deals. Go to aspokesmansaid.com and you could be saving big money on your bills.
With aspokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love sport.
We've got a big London derby tonight in the Championship. QPR can go second with a win at home to Brentford, but that's quite a tough ask. We're joined on the line by Tommy Smith, former QPR, Brentford and Watford winger. Good evening, Tommy. Thanks for joining us. Who are you tipping tonight? Which of your old clubs is going to have the better of it?
Good evening. Yeah, it's a tough one to call this evening, but looking at the form, I think it's really hard not to back QPR this evening. They've made a wonderful start this season. I think they've kind of been the surprise team so far in the Championship, for me anyway. I know Mark Warburton had a lot of work to do to try and pull the squad together that he's got there, having a huge turnover of players over the last few years there. So for me, I'd probably edge QPR, but look, Brentford, you never quite know what Brentford's going to turn up, particularly this season. Been a bit hit and miss, but they're always very dangerous on their day. But I think at Loftus Road, I'll probably just tip QPR this evening.
Is there going to be a bit of an edge to it with Warburton, of course, facing Brentford, where he did such good work?
I think there's always a bit of added incentive, particularly for an old team when you're playing against an ex-manager. I think for the fans as well, they'll probably want to prove that, he shouldn't have left, basically. But, Mark did great at Brentford. I think the QPR fans are reaping the benefits of that. And I think Brentford are probably thinking, do you know what might have been had he stayed? But they had different ideas, wanted to go in different directions. I know the reason for Mark leaving really was a lot down to the transfer regimes that were trying to be taken on board by the owner of Brentford. So I don't think it'll be any bad blood between the two, but I think there's always a bit of added spice in these types of fixtures.
Tommy, QPR have got a forward player that was on loan at Wycombe Wanderers. Is his name Eze?
That's him, yeah.
He's good, isn't he? Isn't he?
He is good. Yeah, look, he kind of broke in a bit last season, and I watched a fair amount of his games, and he was really hit and miss, and I guess as you'd expect from a young player. So it was more the consistency, and look, Martin, you know what it's like. You need to have players you can rely on, particularly at the Championship level, and I think he just probably didn't bring that reliability last season. But fair play to the young man this year. He's come in, he's been a stalwart, he's played every game. And he seems to be producing something week in, week out. And he's one of those players that the fans love. He picks up the ball and anything can happen. He's really exciting. He's a bundle of tricks and talent. He's popping up with goals now, which is something he needed to add to his game. So, look, they've got brilliant prospects in him. And I expect him to go on and do really well this
Tommy, he sounds a bit like you, doesn't he? Hey,
I'm not
the
sure,
crowd don't know what to expect.
I didn't know what to expect when I was playing. That was fine.
Here, Tommy, if you was playing for Arsenal and you were substituted in the 60th minute and you was in that centre circle and you're walking off, forget the fact you might be earning about 60 grand a week, like Xhaka at Arsenal. What do you think of his reaction yesterday to that substitution? What's your view on it?
Look, it's tough. I think it's easy to step back and say in hindsight, and we're talking without any emotion really attached to it. I get it. Look, every player goes out to try hard, to work hard, to put their best performance in, and I feel for players that get a bit vilified by fans, and I understand it. Fans get frustrated, and there's often one or two players that when things aren't quite going the way that the club and the fans expect it to that sometimes get picked on. And unfortunately, he's won, but look, there's no excuses for his reaction. I'm sure he's regretting it. But I think at the time, he's not the first player to do something when emotions are running high. And I used to hate getting subbed off. Every player does. You don't want to come off that pitch, particularly when the game's starting to turn and you feel like you can add something on the pitch and you get that opportunity taken away. Your frustration can boil over. I've many times been subbed, unfortunately, and I'm every time bitterly disappointed. So that, on top of the stick he's getting from the fans, I think it was probably just the combination of everything, and he's just boiled, simmered over the edge, which, yeah, you can't do it. I mean, you can't, but I kind of feel for him a little bit.
Tommy, you are, of course, a former Watford man, still struggling in the Premier League, still without a win, still at the bottom of the table. Are the Hornets going to stay up this year?
I like to think so. I really do. The big issue I think they've got at the moment is goals. They look a bit nervous. I've been at the home games this season to all of them, and what started off as huge prospects this season and quite exciting, Welbeck coming in, all of a sudden he's out for at least a month now. Andre Gray's injuries protracted. It doesn't look like he's going to come back anytime soon. The only recognised forward really that was in the 18 was Andre Gray, and he started on the bench on Saturday. And they created the odd chance against Bournemouth, but I have to say I think Bournemouth were the better team, and Watford were very defensively set up. And it's a really hard mixture for them at the moment. I know they were conceding too many goals, so they needed to shore up, but they haven't got the blend at the moment, and that does worry me a little bit. They're either very open and trying to score, or they look too defensive and they've got no attacking intent. So they've got a bit of work to do, but there's a long way to go, and they've got a good squad. So I'm hopeful they'll get out of it. But we all know the season flies by really quickly, and that they really need to pick up some results before Christmas.
Watford broke their transfer record this summer to bring Ismaila Sarr in from Rennes. Really highly rated, exciting in Liga, good for Senegal as well, as they won the African Cup of Nations. Where has he been?
It's a good question. Quite a few people asked me that on Saturday. He wasn't in the 18 on Saturday, and they've got pretty much one striker in the team, and I get it. They wanted to bed him in. I think that was the initial kind of feedback I got. He was fairly raw, which is surprising when you're paying 30-odd million for a player, particularly for a club like Watford, who can't afford to have a player who they need to bed in gently. If you're spending record club signing, they need to come in and hit the ground running, be playing every game. So I've been a little bit surprised. I think he needs time, but he's played wing, he's played up front. I haven't quite, to me, figured out his best position, which is a little bit concerning too. But we're desperate. We need him to really try and come in and find some form, because he's clearly got the ability. But I guess it's just trying to find it and put it out there on a Saturday.
Just finally, if there was one realistic signing Watford could make in January to improve things, who would you go for?
Oh, you put me on the spot there. I think they need a proven goal scorer. They are worth their weight in gold, so I know that they're a fortune in the transfer windows, particularly in January. They're not going to be easy to come by, but I think you need someone who's got goals in the Premier League. Throw me on the spot, I don't know who, but I'm looking at Bournemouth. They've got Callum Wilson and Josh King up front, who are quick, strong. They've got goals in them. They need somebody of that ilk that they can bring in that's just going to add a bit of quality in the final third, because that's where they're really suffering at the moment.
Hey, Tommy, QPR versus Brentford. You've played for both teams. Who do you want to win tonight?
Just a reminder, Tommy, you are live
on the radio.
What
I'm going to say. Yeah, I know. I'm going to sit well and truly on the fence. So I had great times at both clubs, so I can't answer that one, unfortunately. Look, I edge QPR tonight, being at home and the start they've had, and Brentford kind of struggling to find a bit of consistency. So that's all you're going to get from me. I'm not going to tell you who I want to win.
He's sat on the fence, Tommy, ain't
It's
you?
fair enough. It is.
Yeah.
You sat on the bench.
Tommy,
I have indeed.
I'm going to let you off the hook. Lovely to talk to you. Thanks for your time. Tommy Smith there, former QPR, Brentford and
He done well
Watford
there,
winger.
didn't he?
Very well. He should think about a career in politics. Very diplomatic. Of course, my favourite phrase, we know what it is the manager under pressure? We've got to apply that to Marco Silva. Martin second in the sack race, according to the bookies, only following Ralph Hasenhüttl at Southampton.
You like saying that word, don't you?
Hasenhüttl. Fresh off the back of a 3-2 defeat against Brighton. Pretty wobbly stuff.
Bonus point for who can tell me what Hasenhüttl translates as.
Ooh, I did know this once. What does it mean?
Well, I don't know.
Rabbit hutch.
I didn't know that. It's a total lie, but
So there you go. Well worth interrupting your train of thought for, Johnny. So
Where did
back
you
to it.
find that out?
I just read it when he got appointed.
Fluent in German.
Hasenhüttl. It's a good word, isn't it?
Oh, Ralph Rabbit Hutch.
Rabbit Hutch. Well, following him into...
He'd be hopping mad after the other night, wouldn't he?
Lord above. Right. Second behind the terrible puns is Marco Silva in the sack race. A disappointing performance against
What is
Brighton.
it with them, Johnny, with Everton? They can have a good result like they beat West Ham comfortably last week.
Easy game, that.
Yeah, you're right there. You're not wrong for a Man U fan. It's tough, isn't it, for them?
It is tough.
All that money spent and it just has not gelled, is it?
And I think that inconsistency is what would worry you if you're an Everton fan, because they can be great, they can be hopeless. You don't know what's going to turn up. It doesn't really feel like Marco Silva knows what the contributing factors are, because if he did, they'd be consistent. And he is one of the instances. You never want to see a manager lose their job. But if he lost his...
You do.
I don't,
Every
Martin.
day you say
no, I
he's
don't.
under pressure.
I ask the question because that is my job. I don't want to see them lose theirs. On the Marco Silva front, you wouldn't have that much sympathy, would you? He's had all of the money he could ask for to spend. He's brought in his own players. 7 of the 11 starting most games this season are his signings. If they struggle, isn't that just on him?
Yeah, I guess it is. It's the sharp end, isn't it, at that level when you do spend all that money. It's not like Norwich where they haven't spent a penny and they've said to their players basically, you lot are going to play, you lot are going to carry on, use your team spirit, our organisation from last year, and we're going to test you at the top level. They probably half know at board level they're going to get relegated, but then the year after, next year in the Championship, I think Norwich will be very, very strong. Brighton, what a great result for them, and Graham Potter, what a great result for the Brighton, the whole football club, give everybody a boost. But for Everton, especially seeing Liverpool doing so well, what was an outstanding performance yesterday, and Jurgen Klopp said that's us at our very best. And then you've got Everton just across the park, Stanley Park, losing at Brighton. It's tough for him. It's tough. And he's going to find it. I think he's going to find it pretty difficult, don't you, Johnny?
Surely curtains before the end of the season. Surely.
Well, the centre forward he bought in from Juventus, a 19-year-old, 25 million. I thought that was a massive gamble taking a young 19-year-old. I know he has played for Italy, but Calvin Lewin. I mean, are these the type of players that are going to lead the line and take Everton up the table? It's going to be a tough one.
It is indeed. Well, hopefully they can turn it around. One man who definitely has is Tiger Woods. We'll be talking about him next.
This is Love Sport. Think the energy price cap will save you money? Think again. You could be saving a lot more on cheaper energy tariffs. Price comparison site A Spokesman Said will show you just how much money you could be saving against your current tariff. Don't throw away your hard-earned money to the energy companies. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could switch to cheaper bills in minutes.
Aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Digital radio offers great sound quality and more stations than ever before. And we want to make sure that you get Love Sport on your digital radio. Just press the auto tune or auto scan button and Love Sport will appear on your menu. Love Sport on digital radio.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. This means that travelling to the EU will change. You'll need to check online if your passport is valid for travel to Europe. If you're planning on driving, you'll need to check if you have the right documents to drive and make sure your travel insurance covers all your healthcare needs. To keep your trip on track, check what you need to do at gov.uk/Brexit. Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October.
Are you paying way over the odds for your car insurance? The spiralling costs put people off driving, full stop. But you're a careful driver, and realistically, you'll only need an insurance payout if some halfwit cuts you off on the M1. So you shouldn't be forced to pay massive car insurance premiums. And you don't have to. Go to price comparison site spokesmansaid.com today and find out the best value car insurance deals on the market. Don't pay the price for not shopping around.
spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realize that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love sport. You're listening to the Posh Boys on Love Sport Drive. And are you throwing away your hard-earned money on expensive energy bills? Keep the price down when you turn the heating up. You could be saving hundreds by switching to a cheaper deal. A spokesmansaid.com compares all the best deals on the market to find you the one that saves the most cash. Find the cheapest energy tariffs for you. Go to a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Guy Watts has all your latest sporting headlines and weather.
I do, Johnny. Yeah, Saracen scrum half Ben Spencer has joined up with England's rugby squad in Japan and is now likely to feature in the World Cup final. He's a replacement for Willie Hines, who suffered a hamstring injury in Saturday's win over New Zealand in the last 4. Head coach Eddie Jones is confident Spencer's the best choice to provide backup to Ben Youngs. And there's going to be a special guest in the camp this week. Tom Curry's twin brother Ben, who of course also plays for Sale, has flown out to join the squad ahead of Saturday's final, or certainly to be in Japan. Don't know whether he's going to be actually with the squad. That's after a social media campaign was launched with the hashtag #GetBenToJapan. And the current longest-serving manager in the Football League, Jim Bentley, has resigned as Morecambe boss. He'd been in charge of the League 2 club since May 2011, having played for them as captain. It's expected that Bentley will take up a new role with National League side AFC Fylde. And weather-wise, a dry night overnight tonight for most with clear spells and variable clouds. Cloudy again, though, in the southwest. Tomorrow, high pressure around still, so it's going to be a fine and dry day for most with sunny spells. Cloudy with some rain in the far southwest, highs of around 11 degrees or so. That's the latest for you on Love Sport Drive.
Thanks, Guy. Now we've got to talk Tiger. He's absolutely extraordinary. He's looked done multiple times in his career, came back initially from back surgery to win majors. He's now having knee surgery, what seems like every 5 minutes, and he's just won his 82nd PGA Tour event. That equals the record in his first event since a knee operation just 9 weeks ago. It's absolutely extraordinary. We're joined on the line by Tom Reed, who's senior PGA teaching professional at Stoke Park Golf Club. Good evening, Tom. Thanks for joining us. Did you expect this from Tiger?
Nobody ever does anymore. I mean, he's written off now, isn't he? You know, when you go through the amount of operations and the breaks away from the game that he's had, he's not really the favourite going into any event. It's just yet another outstanding performance from Tiger Woods. He is the greatest.
And Tiger, of course, is only 43. The traditional time for setting this record is 52 years. Could he play on until that kind of age, and can he go and break the record?
I mean, listen, his clubhead speed is still one of the fastest on tour. It's just about injury prevention and maintaining his physical health. You know, mentally, he's got one of the strongest games on tour. his iron and wedge play and short game is sublime. It's probably the best it's ever been. He putted beautifully in Japan this week, which has been the trademark to his success over the last 25 years on tour. But, when you think about it, he's had 4 back surgeries. He's had a 3-year break from winning any tournaments. Pretty much a 5-year drought. He's now the most dominant player and arguably the most resilient player of all time. It was outstanding.
With all his operations, especially that back one, has he had to change his swing and the dynamics of how he moves to hit the ball as well as he does?
Yeah, great question. He has done, absolutely. It has to be a bit more economical. He used to have a lot of snap in his left knee to try and clear his hips. He used to clear his hips really fast. But what he's done now is he's got a golf swing that's a bit more around his body, where his arms and his body are working a bit more in sync rather than slightly separate. Which I actually think helps his ball control. I think it's a good move for him because Tiger is, and I think it's pretty well publicised now, he's pretty obsessed with distance and power. And I think that actually the physical limitations that he now has on his body have made him make some more sort of economical changes to his swing, where, like I say, his arms and body actually start to work together. You can see he doesn't lash at the ball so hard as he used to. Which takes a lot of strain off of his lower back, which is crucial to him. So I think, if injury prevention is good and he plays in warm conditions, he struggles in cold conditions because that doesn't help his back. He's got another decade of tournament wins in him, and I hope he does. He's my favourite player, and he's a lot of everyone's favourite player and inspiration. I would love him to keep winning tournaments late into his 40s, early 50s.
Is there an element, even with this resurgence, even with this brilliance as a more senior player, that makes us look back at that window where, through injury and controversy, Tiger wasn't playing at his best, and think, well, what might have been? Because if he'd maintained that standard all the way through his career, he'd have smashed all these records already.
Yeah, you're right, Johnny. I mean, he's at 15 major championships. He could have been at 25, but the other thing as well is I think that the level that he worked at from the age, I mean, he was in the spotlight from the age of 2, and he experienced mental and physical burnout, and that's what happened to Tiger. Obviously, his personal life broke down. Physically, he broke down. It was just complete burnout, which is what's so wonderful. It was a very sad time for Tiger fans, and he was very down, and he was arrested for silly things, and you look at it and you think, God, this hero, this kind of, everyone's role model in the game has turned himself into, a bit of a, at the time it was a bit of a joke because people were putting stuff on social media about his mugshots when he'd been arrested. It was a really sad time. And the resilience he's shown to come back and to clean up his image and to continue to inspire people. He's done amazing work with his Tiger Woods Foundation. He did have that gap, Johnny, but I actually think it was the making of him. It's the sort of second part to his career now, where he's more friendly with his peers on tour. He's more receptive to fans. He's almost more human now. And I think that although the break was pretty tough for him and pretty tough for his fans, I think it's the best thing that's ever happened to him. And if he stays fit, I think he eclipses that 18 major tally of Jack Nicklaus's, which would just be wonderful to see.
It would be quite something. And just finally, Tom, he was playing in Japan yesterday, something which hasn't been going on for all that long in golfing majors. It looked like a big success, and could we see Tiger doing more of that? Could we see him feature at the Olympics in Tokyo next year?
I do hope so. I mean, Japan, it's been pretty busy in Japan this week, isn't it? For all the rugby fans out there's been some pretty good news. So, yeah, I mean, Tiger winning in Japan and England getting through to the finals. I mean, he's always been a world player, and he has competed in Japan before, competed in Thailand before. Yes, I think that it's something that he would like to do. I mean, listen, there's not many things that Tiger Woods hasn't won, but he hasn't won an Olympic gold medal, so why not? The other thing that's pressing at the moment is that he is the President's Cup captain, and quite likely he's going to be a captain's pick for the President's Cup. So we haven't seen a playing captain before, well, not for a long time. So Tiger Woods could be picking himself to play in the President's Cup. So that's the thing I'm interested in for the next few months. We'll have to see how that goes.
And Tom, coming more up to date, I'm playing tomorrow at Swinley Forest near Ascot. in a charity competition. Have you got a tip for me before I take to the first tee?
Well, I tell you what, Swindley is a beautiful golf course, so you're in for a treat.
Is it?
A lot of history there. Yeah, it's absolutely stunning. You'll love it. Hard to not enjoy it. One thing I would say about Swindley is you got to think about the shots you're hitting. It's not a wide open golf course. Try and control the ball off the tee. Easier said than done, but it's good to have good intentions.
Martin looked very worried when you said that, Tom.
Tom, I'll tell you why I'm worried. I tee up and I try and smash that ball as high, long and as far as possible. What direction it ends up in, it don't matter. If it goes and it's the aeroplanes, I'm happy.
I'll tell you what, in that case, make sure you've got a good stock of golf balls in your bag, right?
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you're going to be flying at any point in the next couple of days, just keep an eye out. Tom Reed, great to speak to you. Thank you for your time. Tom Reed there, senior PGA.
What advice that was, wasn't it?
That's superb. Senior PGA teaching professional at Stoke Park Golf Club. Always a pleasure to talk to him. Tiger is extraordinary. Martin, do you reckon you could teach me to play golf?
No.
Why not?
Well, Johnny, you've got the longest arms I've ever seen.
He's got levers for it, hasn't he?
They're
if he
levers,
was taught,
that's a good word.
If he was taught, he could hit it miles. It's
No.
big if, isn't it? No.
I don't think so.
What'd you play off, Mark?
I play off 12.
It's not bad.
It's not bad
I
at
think
all.
you're underselling yourself
not
a little
quite
bit.
Gareth Bale.
It's not quite Gareth
Yeah,
Bale.
but it's a
who is?
competition tomorrow, so you're not going to tell everybody, oh, I'm really good.
Yeah, what are you playing off tomorrow? 16?
No, 12.
Banned
I don't
hitting a few
cheat.
shots.
I don't cheat.
Not anymore.
No, it'd just be a great day. It's always for a good charity. They're good people that are involved. So, no, it'd be a really good day. I can't wait.
Fantastic. Talking about Tiger, of course, always makes us think of sportsmen like pushing themselves right to the limit, playing through the pain barrier as well. I refuse to believe that after all he's been through, Tiger Woods is genuinely pain-free. But then I guess you look at Andy Murray, he claims that as well. It can't quite be real, can it? But maybe it is in those cases. I saw a story today, just a very quick one, but Adil Rashid, of course, one of the heroes of England's Cricket World Cup win, which might turn out to be just the first of 2 World Cup wins for England in a single year. We knew, was carrying a sort of shoulder niggle, it was described as, throughout the tournament. We'd heard he'd had a bit of a sort of steroid injection at some point. He's revealed today, remember, he's out in New Zealand where we're starting a T20 series in just a couple of days' time. He's revealed that just before the tournament, he couldn't even lift his bowling arm, his right arm up. That was how serious the injury was, and he did have that steroid injection. It allowed him to play all 11 games. There were questions at the time about his workload. I just thought that was amazing. I thought, you know, the sort of levels, the limits that people push themselves to. Obviously, medical advancement helps, and if it's a painkilling injection, it makes a big difference. But we have no idea most of the time what most of these sports people are going through. You think cricket, not a big, difficult physical sport. Golf, not a big physical, difficult sport. But these people still get injuries, bad ones, that don't just affect them in their own sport, can affect them in their everyday lives as well. And I thought that was a really interesting story. Of course, went on to help England play, or help England win Cricket World Cup for the first time ever. Well done him, and well done the medical staff as well.
Was he, was he playing when...
When we won the World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, Martin, yeah.
Yeah.
Good day that, wasn't it?
And what about when that spin bowler, what's his name, Nathan Lyon?
Oh, yeah.
Was he playing that day when he dropped that ball?
Well, he wasn't playing that day, Martin, because Nathan Lyon wasn't in the World Cup final, was he?
Oh,
we
right.
knocked the Aussies out in the semis, didn't we?
Oh.
That was all right, wasn't it? He was playing, though, at Headingley in the Ashes when he dropped that ball, when he just needed to run Jack Leach out. That was a good moment, wasn't it?
I don't like him. The reason I don't like him, Guy, is because he said that he wants to ruin people's careers, and that what's grinded me, and that's why I wanted to meet him.
Right, well, I'm not sure the feeling's mutual, Mark, but we'll do what we can. I am emailing his agent almost every other day, and he's just not getting back to me at the moment. Fingers crossed
I'd like
he does.
to meet him.
You would like to?
Yeah.
That would be carnage. I can't allow that to happen in good conscience. Coming up, we're going to be meeting the wonderful Charlie Hawkins, finding out what's coming up after 7 o'clock.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Henna men.
Cage.
Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're right.
Secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in.
Henna men. Keep control.
You're in.
No.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Find out what you need to do to prepare at gov.uk/Brexit.
Home insurance is vital. You don't want to end up paying through the nose when something goes wrong. But are you being charged way too much for your home cover? Are your insurance premiums simply too much to bear? It doesn't have to be that way. A spokesmansaid.com is a price comparison website that trawls the internet to find the best deal for you. Don't pay the price for not shopping around. Visit a spokesmansaid.com and start saving today.
A spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids, so make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child's up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
This is Love Sport.
It's Martin Allen's favourite point of the show. He doesn't mind sitting in the company of me and Guy Watts, but the man he really wants to see is Charlie Hawkins.
Listen to, not see.
See and listen to.
It's his show. I always listen to
What are
it
you
on the
saying
way
about
home.
his looks?
Oh, he's a good-looking boy, but I also like he's got a Farrah tracksuit top on, and he looks $1 million.
He does.
Checks in the postmark. Thank you.
Does
Commission
indeed.
on the million.
Charlie, great
I
to
didn't know
see
they
you.
did Farrah tracksuit tops. I thought it was Farrah trousers.
I'm bringing it back, Mark. Bringing it back.
Mr. Style, isn't he?
He has the style. He absolutely does. And the reason why he's in the studio isn't just to flirt. It's also because he's carrying you forward for those fan shows from 7 o'clock. Charlie, what's coming up?
7 o'clock, the first fan show of the week. We kick it off in style because we're going with Arsenal, and there hasn't been much Arsenal news over the past 7 days, over the past 24 hours. They was involved in a game with no incidents, no VAR problems. Their captain and their fans are all in one harmony, so it should be a good, peaceful 60 minutes.
I'm listening to that.
Yeah, you're tuning in because, of course, I am indeed lying. We've got a packed show this evening. We won't even have time to do the normal guest because, obviously, Xhaka, the captain, what do they make of it? The cupping of the year, the fans booing him. Was he walking too slow? Should fans be treating their captain that way? Should the captain be, telling the fans the expletives that he did? There is so much to talk about in that hour, and obviously, and it's an interesting point that me and you made, Mark, last week, all three of us in the studio.
Oh, all right, yeah.
Sorry,
no,
John.
I was here as well, apparently.
No, John, you're the leader. You're the leader of men. We follow you wherever you may go. But what I was going to say was that last week, Arsenal, in this past 7 days, it was a huge game, and you and Mark both said, is it vital? And I said, yeah, because we know the headlines that are coming, and since that last week, they lost to Sheffield United, barely got over the line to Victoria.
Yeah, didn't play well against Sheffield, did they, really?
Didn't play well against Sheffield United. Got over the line to Victoria. 2 magical free kicks, but no goals in open play. And then, obviously, the draw with Palace on the weekend from 2-0 up. And Palace side are playing well, yes, and getting results.
Where
are
are they
up
in
the
the
table.
league, Palace?
I think they're about 6th or 7th now. And they've got some good results against the sides that are up there. But let's be real. This is a Palace side that are struggling to score goals, and got 2 at the Emirates on Sunday when Arsenal were 2-0 up and flying.
Hey, Charlie, I've just seen something, mate. Don't show this to the Arsenal fan show, but this is brilliant. It's a tweet. Oh, you're an Arsenal fan as well, aren't you? A brief history of Arsenal captains. You two will love this. Martin, you'll love this too. It's 4 pictures in one tweet.
Vieira.
William Gallas sitting down
Oh,
crying.
don't. That is as bad as
I can guess the others.
Sitting
probably.
down crying. All right, what else is on there?
Fabregas.
Van Persie
celebrating scoring against Arsenal for Man United.
Oh, is Ashley Cole captain at some point?
No, you've got Lauren Koscielny ripping off the Arsenal top to reveal the Bordeaux shirt. And then you've got Xhaka cupping his ear as he comes off. 4 great still images that sum up what it means to be captain of Arsenal Football Club.
They know how to pick them, don't they? They really, really do. It's going to be a tough show, that one. Coming up from 8 o'clock, you have got the kind of Love Sport fans show, but you're talking a bit of boxing as well.
Yeah, we are. We're doing a mix, obviously, because Brentford are playing tonight. They're playing QPR, so there's no show. They're at the game, which is understandable. We're going to keep you up to date with that and across the game. We're also doing the top stories of today. We're doing Granit Xhaka Arsenal. That will continue. And obviously, the huge boxing from the weekend, because it was a massive fight, wasn't it? Numero uno versus numero uno. Regis Prograis versus Josh Taylor for all the belts, all all the marbles, as they say. And what a fantastic fight it was. And obviously, Derek Chisora and David Price, we're going to be keeping you up to date on that.
I was actually quite disappointed that you didn't walk in here wearing sunglasses, Charlie.
That seems the fashion these days. Thankfully, I'm not supporting the shiner to go with the glasses. But there you go. Maybe when Martin's next in, I'll do it for you two. I'll do an outfit.
Why would you wear sunglasses?
There was a tiff in the lead up to this fight where Taylor said of Prograis, why is he wearing sunglasses inside? It makes me want to knock his jaw off. They're now mates after the fight, which seems to always happen in boxing.
I hate that.
I know, it really annoys me. You get this kind of synthesised hatred before the fight. You beat 7 shades of everything out of each other.
Johnny.
And then you're friends.
This morning, on the way home from the gym, I called into Tesco's. And as I was walking around Tesco's, this lady had one of them trolleys, you know those silver sort of metal trolleys what going round, and her little boy was sat in the little seat on it. He was about 4 years old, and he had sunglasses on. And I thought...
She shouted at him, I want to knock his jaw off.
I looked at the mother, and I looked at the kid. As I walked past them, they was going up down the aisle, I was going the other way, like walked past them, and I just looked at her and just shook my head. And the little kid started crying.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. No. Oh. I just looked at the mother and thought, what are you doing?
You know, it's all right when you're a kid.
Why is it? Why would a mum put a little 3 or 4 year old in a pair of sunglasses? It's pouring a rain and all grey outside, and a kid's walking around in sunglasses. What's that going to bring up in the future?
The kid has got his new sunglasses. He's really excited.
Why'd you get
He's
kid
been in trouble.
sunglasses?
He's saying, I'm not leaving unless I'm wearing my
What's he in
sunglasses.
Top Gun?
Tom
Give it a
Cruise
break.
cruising around Tesco.
Play with Lego.
Well, that is my philosophy, if anything else. Maybe that'll be Unai Emery's training for tomorrow morning. Charlie, from 9 is the Man City fan show. Routine but professional against Aston Villa.
Routine professional. I would say Man City, since they've come back from that international break, they're just finding another gear for me. You know, they feel like maybe it's too early, but they feel like the race is now on. They're trying to catch Liverpool. They're going for them now. They got that result, and you know, Pep Guardiola, he wasn't happy on the weekend, was he? He said if we play like we did in the first half, we're going to get relegated. Obviously, a bit of extreme there, but you know, he was getting behind his side. You know, he's putting a rocket up him. It certainly paid off in the second half. You know, they had the VAR incidents were rife again. De Bruyne wanted the goal. Silva, did he touch it? Villa felt aggrieved.
Right, so hang on. They went back and they gave the goal to Silva, who was offside. So if it's Silva's goal, it's not a goal at all. I just don't get this.
And the reason they gave is the governing body who sorts out whose goal it is
Distinct
are very
from VAR.
completely different. 2 different groups. So you've got one group saying one thing, one group saying the other. Who knows? The goal stands, and Silva did touch it.
It's more complicated than Brexit, I tell you. From 10, it's the Villa fan show.
Yeah.
The other side of that particular argumentative coin. Interesting to hear their thoughts. Wesley Moraes, when we're talking about players reacting badly to being subbed off, didn't look chuffed, but he did manage to avoid cupping his ear at the fans. So I suppose that's something. Derby fan show from 10:30. What's the feeling there?
The feeling is that they just can't find any rhythm, any momentum at the minute for Derby. It's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. They got a great result in the week, but then they got thrashed to Charlton last Saturday, and they looked terrible against Hull on the weekend. Hull, you know, not lifting up any trees in the Championship, down at the bottom. They beat them and comfortably beat them 2-0. Derby just looked like they're just nothing motivating them, Mark.
Are the fans looking forward to Rooney coming?
Can't wait, and I feel like this is being a factor because every week now, and we're only in October, and this started last month, they're saying, oh, well, when Rooney gets here in January, you know, Rooney's coming, and, you know, there's still 10, 12 games to play till then, you know. I feel like the eyes may be slowly wandering from the ball and the focus on each Saturday because they're thinking about this great momentum boost they're going to get in January.
It can't be easy.
Can't be at all. Charlie, it sounds like a cracking few shows. We'll be tuning in on our way home. I know Martin is keen on that Arsenal show. Could be fireworks. Charlie Hawkins there, who will carry you forward from 7. Arsenal, then Love Sport fan show from 8. Man City from 9. Villa from 10. Derby from 10:30. Martin Allen, it has been a pleasure, as always, to spend 4 hours in your charming company. Guy, a pleasure to spend 4 hours in your charming company. Keep your eyes peeled on the Love Sport Twitter. You're going to see us all dressed in our suits on an electric scooter. Do we fall off? You'll have to tune in and see. Stay with us, and the Posh Boys are back from 3 tomorrow.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Find out what you need to do to prepare at gov.uk/Brexit.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the mortgage, and. The cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with